Halloween. Halloween. I think we're back. I think we're back. I think. Bro. OBS hates me. Okay. Let me edit. No, not that. Oh. No? Okay, hold on. I should be back. I see YouTube chat. Sorry about that, everybody. Let me fix this. Yeah, my OBS just crashed for some reason. And it said it had an encoder error and it just fucking crashed. So yeah, it just decided to, I don't know, be stupid. I'm sorry about that. My stream just, yeah, it just died. So OBS is what I use to stream, and it said encoder error, and it just ended all of my streams. So, you know, it be that way sometimes, I guess. I apologize to everyone for the issue. I'm just trying to get the stuff in here. So all the credits and stuff are in the YouTube video. Okay. All right. I'm so sorry, guys. I think we're back. I think we're good. Apologies on that. Welcome back in, everybody. Thank you guys for sticking around. Chaos is killing the OBS, probably. They don't want me to see the sisters' propaganda. You're so right. I was late to stream. What are you watching? No worries. We're actually totally just starting right now. Because OBS crashed, so it's a brand new stream. Thanks for your patience and for coming back. I really appreciate it. Thank you, guys. We're watching this. We're checking out 2 videos about the Sisters of Battl. We're watching this one from Lutin. Lutin first. If it's Lutin. If it's not Lutin, let me know if it's Lutin instead. But Lutin, and then Adric, Adeptus Ridiculous. And then, no way, the stream. No. We're gonna be streaming for like 5 hours. Yeah, I'm saying it right. Thank you. Yeah. So hopefully we don't struggle again. Fingers crossed. Knock on wood. I'll be really sad. So let's. I rewound the video a little bit because I don't know like where it started cutting off, but Thanks for the sub, Fred Frog, on Twitch. Welcome to the Ghosty Gang. Okay, DD, welcome home. Alright, let's listen to Lutin. Yeah, people have been saying Bricky's favorite faction. So that's why, since everyone knows it's his favorite, I thought it would be good to watch one of his videos about them. Because, you know, when people are passionate about it, like I love... there's nothing better than hearing someone passionate about something talk about it. I love that shit. And then this Lutin video came recommended, and he seems pretty highly regarded, so I thought we would give him a shot too. Yeah. Yeah!
These may be misguided. The SORORITAS in Battl will often be heard uttering unrelenting chants and hymnals that resonate across cities and even continents. Faith is both their shield and their weapon. Advancing across ruined battlefields and shattered cities of humanity with righteous fervour, they bring the Emperor's judgment down upon the enemies of mankind, with, for example, their exorcist missiles raining upon enemies as their holy fire engulfs all. The central figure for any Sororitas order is known as the Canoness. She is their spiritual and military leader, and in some situations may also lead an entire world, dependent on its status. Whoa. But a Canoness will never shy from battle. In the most important assaults, she will lead the charge at the forefront of her troops, intoning commands to launch a final critical assault, accompanied by her battle sisters and Dominion squads who will unleash precise concussive bolt gun fusillades and melter streams which will carve and disintegrate through armoured enemies with their concentrated heat energy. Above them, seraphim descend from the air, landing upon their unwitting enemy as they deliver swift deadly blows, bisecting and decapitating their enemies before they're even aware of what holy judgment they may be facing. But the Adeptus Sororitas are not merely well-disciplined and trained soldiers of the Emperor. It is their faith that makes them so indomitable and formidable, where the psychic power of the war...
Wait, but what is their faith in? Is it the faith in the Emperor, or is it something else? Is he gonna tell me? Is he gonna explain the faith? I assume. It's the faith of the Emperor? Okay. So it's almost like the Emperor is a religion. Like, he's God. If we compare it to Christianity, he's God. Am I a main screen girl or a side screen girl? You better say I'm a main screen girl when I'm live. It's okay. I know I can't be everyone's Oshi. But... just lie to me and tell me I'm a main screen girl, okay? I don't... just... even if you don't mean it, just tell me. I don't want to know I'm the side chick, okay? Okay, God, Emperor. He is a religion. Okay. Biggie. Got it. You're my main screen girl. I mean it all. Thank you. Third screen. Oh. I gotta go, guys. I've just been slaughtered in cold blood.
Warp is, by the period of M41, an embraced aspect of the Imperium's military and more civil affairs, siphoning warp power into a well-trained, carefully sanctioned vessel. The powers of the Sororitas are more vague and less understood, for they invoke the literal power of prayer and faith, and by doing so, it can render them to their enemies seemingly invincible. They can withstand the most intense of incendiary assaults, fire and flame that would vaporize and disintegrate less well-protected units. They may dodge enemy fire with an apparent sense of foresight, only observed comparably among the Xenos. And most well known is their uncanny ability to make vital shots count, to land especially challenging or critical rounds, finding their targets very often when they're needed the most, locating unknown weak spots in an opponent's armor, causing catastrophic explosions as they hit unstable power sources.
So their faith almost gives them like a crazy luck stat. Like, it almost gives them like their luck stats off the roof kind of thing. That's kind of what it sounds like to me. Most games of the headphones free is my only audio. Mobile. Hi, evil. Works of these because they're ferocious fighters and their faith reminds them of something. Oh yeah, we haven't learned about orcs yet.
Some might call these events pure chance or rare, but they are also consistent enough to be difficult to dismiss as merely random. Many of the most vehement anti-religious advocates of the Imperium, such as the Custodes and the Astartes, have been given on occasion
call it miracles.
Okay, so if there is something more here. Of course, for those who do not hold the belief of the divinity of the God Emperor, they tend to see things as being more logical and practical. The Emperor is aiding his humble servants, reaching out as he may do from time to time with slivers of psychic power. Of course, though, to the sisters themselves, these beneficial occurrences are no mystery. They are the vessels of the Emperor's divinity, and through them he manifests his will on the battlefield. However you choose to look at it, this is inevitably the case. One thing that is curious, though, is how their powers are specifically manifested. The power of the Sororitas and their faith is not confirmed as being necessarily a direct psychic manifestation of warp power, as do say psychers, which has led to much open speculation as to specifically how they fuel their own power. It also can be the case that a sister of the faith could be both a psyker and also imbued with power from her faith. These inconsistencies have been best highlighted during the fall of Cadia and the subsequent psychic awakening. During the battle for Cadia, the living Saint Celestine had her power significantly curtailed by a null field generated by Necron Blackstone pylons. Although it did not extinguish their powers entirely, the sisters were described as being heavily dulled by its effect, making them near enough comparable to mortal soldiers. At a separate instance, SORORITAS...
So they're almost kind of like a psyker ability, but not necessarily. That's interesting. So the source of their power is their faith, but also a psyker, but it's not like confirmed anywhere. And there are psyker sisters. Huh. Miracle dice where they can summon different dice. Oh. They tap into his power? Oh, okay.
While exploring the Pariah Nexus, a psychic null territory generated again by the Necron, was seen to heavily affect astropaths, psykers, and even ordinary humans who held minimal psychic awareness. SORORITAS were still able to use at least some of their powers though. So all of this has made it difficult to really clarify just how the SORORITAS manifest their faith, whether using the warp or not. Some will speculate that the sisters do draw mainly from the warp, but to do so at a more low-level and unconscious manner, almost passively, so that they do not need to befall the same dangers of psykers, which makes sense, as after all the SORORITAS are not spitting out psychic assaults from their weapons. Most of their powers can be seen as more of a gentle nudge, a lean, rather than a direct attack. Sometimes it can help them to heal themselves from what would be otherwise mortal wounds. Another theory has been that they're able to somehow store power in themselves, in their faith, as a vessel. Again, similarly to something like the orcs, they generate kind of independent psychic field as their faith manifested in reality, similar to an orc's warg. But this is a very unclear field of knowledge, and not one that is likely going to be clarified definitively anytime soon, as unsurprisingly, the devout followers of the Imperial faith are not especially keen to be studied under the lens of the biologists or mechanicus, least of all under the pre-conclusion of defining the mechanics of their faith. As Battle Sisters advance, they're joined by zealous preachers, death cult assassins, Repentia squads, all fighting with equal fervor to rid the galaxy of heresy.
I haven't seen this photo, but this person's cool. What are they? They're like a rocker Catwoman. Sorry, not to detract from us talking about the Battle Sisters, but she's cool as fuck. Death cult assassin? I found someone else I want to look into. Faith is a collective. So it's like there's lots of theories, but nothing concretely explained. Similar wavelength, but not one-to-one with psychic capability. Thanks, Matthew. Similar to the orcs. Collective unconscious occurrence. Death cult assassin. Wearing too many clothes. Talks about a tournament he competed in with the SORORITAS army. Kind of shows how some of this is seen. Yeah, I do want to look through actual tabletop like gameplay too, but I want to understand more lore first. Yeah, they work. Oh, the death cult assassin. Okay, they're cool. They're metal. They kind of look metal. Faith versus mana and Elden Ring. Okay, I vaguely understand. Like they're correlated, not connected necessarily.
Archoflagellants, torturous walkers carving paths through the enemy army, driven by the pain and suffering of sinners hardwired into their frames. The Adeptus Sororitas battle cries are deafening, a testament to their devotion to the Emperor and their duty to serve him. For they are the epitome of devotion, faith, and unwavering loyalty to the god Emperor in the Imperium. They're known for their effectiveness through battle, uncompromising nature, and an ability to invoke supernatural power through their unwavering faith itself. They host a whole arsenal of weaponry coupled with their divine abilities, and this makes them an incredibly formidable force on the battlefield. The Adeptus Sororitas' ultimate goal is to rid the galaxy of heretics and other threats to the Imperium's purity. They will stop at nothing to achieve this. They're revered and feared in equal measure, much like Inquisitors, with their unwavering faith serving as a beacon of hope for the Imperium's people, but also in a stern warning to its enemies.
Huh. Rex, if you have the video and can post it in Discord, that'd be incredible. Or anyone.
The Imperial Creed is the singular and near mandatory in M41 faith of the Imperium of Man. Enforced across the vast expanse of the hundreds of thousands of worlds under its dominion, absolute devotion is required upon many worlds, and the consequences for not demonstrating correct observance to the rituals and daily worship can carry severe penalties, as with most things in the Imperium.
Like what?
In spite of its broad application, though, across innumerable worlds, there is considerable variance to be found in both the ritual and interpretations of the Imperial Creed. However, one fundamental principle always remains sacrosanct: the Emperor of Mankind is the supreme deity of all humanity. This is of course so obvious that the thought of any alternative view seems incomprehensible among the chattering masses of human souls bound within the plasteel walls of hive cities.
So is this the kind of worship where, like, Emperor can and has done no wrong? Like, is this the kind of, like, for lack of better word, heretical worship where, or like putting the Emperor on a pedestal? Or is this the kind of worship where it's like, yeah, like maybe we don't agree with all his decisions, but like he is God and we will believe in and fight for humanity and what he represents? Like, is this a we ignore his bad decisions kind of thing, or the Imperial cult? Okay, you know what, that's fair. With the name Imperial cult, then yeah, I guess that kind of answers my question. Heavy censorship and redactions occur. If you speak against the Emperor, you get shot. Okay, got it. So, okay. For the sisters, Emp did no wrong. He's perfect. He is God. Okay, there. Yeah, all right. Well, that makes me like them a little bit less, but that's okay. God Emperor can do no wrong. Heretic. No. I would never suggest. Hi, bud. He died and they made him a religious icon. Okay, so like time-wise, they're so removed from his original like poor actions and decisions that like now it's kind of, I don't know. Yeah, we started watching Crack Duck's videos. We didn't get to finish though, so they're brainwashed. Yeah, okay, that's fair. God Emperor does no wrong. You just didn't understand his plan. Okay. Okay, well.
Yet there are some who may at times choose to question these certainties, and so any deviation from this core belief is considered heresy of the most abhorrent kind.
If I just
and
waited,
therefore punishable by death without exception, very likely as slowly and painfully as possible, and also very probably on public display to ensure the Emperor's will is seen to be observed. In the late period of the Horus Heresy, yet still before his interring upon the Golden Throne, the Emperor was already venerated by many as a divine being. His extraordinary leadership during the Great Crusade and his actions elevated him to the level of human legend, with some primitive societies even already hailing him as a god, because what other conclusion could they come to? This huge golden figure accompanied by angelic beings descending from the heavens on chariots wreathed in flame. Wherever he went, the Emperor's unwavering will and unbreakable charisma won over even the most savage of humans, who were left in awe of his power. Though he himself denied any claim to his divinity to the final days, the Emperor's godlike reputation only grows stronger among his subjects, many believing, of course, that his denial was in actuality a test of the truly faithful. Only a true god would deny his divinity, making any attempts to prevent a religious following from taking hold near impossible at that point. With the devastating betrayal of the War Master Horus, who led roughly half the Space Marine legions into the embrace of chaos, the resulting civil war infamously near destroyed the Imperium and humanity, culminating in the most horrifying and destructive battles ever seen as the traitors manifested their rage upon the Imperial Palace and terror. During this conflict, many humans were already worshipping the Emperor as a god, and many more turned to prayer and faith as a last hope. They saw no possibility of their survival other than the divine intervention of the Emperor himself, and still more individuals witnessed moments and duels which defied explanation other than the supernatural. Some mortal Astartes were able to best or survive conflicts in which they should have been otherwise incapable of enduring, yet somehow they did. And for some who heard of such miracles, the conclusion was surely self-evident. In the aftermath of the Emperor's sacrifice, accompanied by the stories, tales, the martyrs coming out of the Siege of Terror, as well as a temporary destabilization in authority, this meant that previously outlawed concepts such as the worship of the Emperor as a deity exploded across the Imperium. Yet the period to come was not one of glorious unification. The Imperium was burning, many worlds were still gripped by traitors, and
I find it very funny that I'm like, hey chat, I have a question, explain this to me. And then literally the video goes and explains it to me. What that tells me is that Lucien did a really good job of organizing this in a way that like follows, you know, the watcher's train of thought. Well done. But when he says like that too, it makes sense, right? Like with what you guys are saying and what he's saying, it makes sense why the Emperor became a religion, you know? Your attention span is goldfish size. We already knew that, Rago. That's nothing new. Watching the video explains the video. But there are plenty of videos where you can be watching something and it doesn't, like, it's not organized in a way where it answers the questions that you think of as it comes to you. You know what I'm saying? So the fact that this question came to me, I paused the video to ask and confirm and talk about it with you. And then as we play the video, like the next thing he talks about is that question that I had, right? It just means it's like a well thought out video, in my opinion. Patch, patch, patch. Okay.
So with this adoration also came fear. The War Master's betrayal had cast doubt upon the loyalty of all within the Imperium. Countless self-proclaimed prophets emerged across the galaxy, each claiming to know the Emperor's true will and branding anyone who opposed them as a traitor. Very often these were moments of all too typically human greed and aspiration. Seeing an excuse, an opportunity, many were able to thus eliminate their rivals and take hold of power. The most zealous among them founded cults of fanatical devotees who were all too willing to crush any opposition to their beliefs with extreme prejudice, especially in the aftermath of the heresy. Incidentally, you still see this in the contemporary Imperium among the faithful, roving bands of zealots who will purge through lower levels of hive cities, seeking the mutant, the faithless, the heretical, or quite honestly, anybody who just gets in their way. Often the definition to meet the standards of heresy as we know are pretty loose, and a case of simply somebody is getting purged today by fire one way or the other. If they're a heretic, then all the better. Eventually these early cults of the Emperor were whittled down until one would rise to prominence, the Temple of the Saviour Emperor. Though initially based on terror, its influence spread rapidly across the Imperium, penetrating every level of Imperial society. The impressively pervasive uptake by populations meant that for those in power who resisted its dogma, they would often face unrecoverable consequences.
What's a hive city? The 12-foot golden armor and golden glowing man with flaming sword quietly said, "I am not a god, do not worship me." Well, then be less godlike, I guess. The population of a planet, but in a city. Oh. A city with 400 billion people. A super mega city. Gigantic city with a huge population. Huh. Oh shit, that's crazy. Okay. They have billions. They're miles high and miles deep. So why do hive cities exist? Just because they have the technology to like build it that high and that deep? So they do? Why don't Space Marines go into hive cities? You said they don't usually go into hive cities. How come? All population and production and often no natural resources. Infinite city, hive worlds, mini hive cities. Okay, makes sense. Oh, like an ant hive. This makes sense. Okay. Imagine New York, but a continent. Space Marines like to live separate from regular humanity. Look for art. Oh, I'll do that later. Factory cities. Oh, I see. Not random streakings. They're fighting aliens. Okay, this makes sense. This makes sense. Okay.
Planetary governors who refused to obey its edicts saw their worlds starved of resources, while dissenters among the masses were given the most dangerous and deadly industrial assignments, or simply just went missing, executed as heretics, who knows. By the 32nd millennium, though, an astonishingly fast period of time for conversion in the aftermath of the heresy, the majority of humanity had become adherents of the Temple of the Saviour Emperor. Its teachings had become the official faith of the Imperium, and it was given now the title of the Adeptus Ministorum. The head of the Ministorum would in time become a new position which would sit on the council as a High Lord of Terror. These were the very highest senior officials who would rule humanity until the period of M41, and were very obviously immensely powerful. Only those such as the Mechanicus, Custodes, Astartes and so forth would be tolerated in not explicitly worshipping the imperial religion or even in deviating in some other way from its teachings due to their close historical associations with the emperor himself. And also the necessary political caution was applicable, something true even now, as Roberto Guilliman now faces the reverse of circumstance, where he, as an individual who walked the galaxy during the Crusade and the knowledge of the imperial truth, the atheist and rationalist perspective present in that time, which is still held by most Astartes and the Custodes, he must equally tolerate the religious aspects of the Imperium and Ministorum. The Imperium in M41 is far from stable, and the very worst thing that could happen would be some kind of holy civil war, something that those who currently oversee it are all too aware of. We will circle back to look at how these sororitas emerge in this time in the next section. For now, in the contemporary Imperium, the sisters, the sororitas, will usually be chosen from the rigorous training candidates of the Schola Progenium. As with all the elite military forces of the Imperium, extremely high standards are, of course, demanded. The sororitas are no exception. In many ways they're held to an even higher standard, as not only their combat skills and loyalty is tested, but also the purity of their faith. As many of you will recall, the Schola Progenium are those special schools upon Imperial worlds who train often, but not necessarily, orphans of high-ranking Imperials or nobles. There were no shortage of candidates, but it need not necessarily always be the most high-ranking officials whose offspring end up at the gates of the Schola, for of course they want to look after themselves and their children, but the nature of the Imperium means that there are often many candidates. Once they've entered the Schola, they will either emerge as candidates for elite service or not at all. Within its walls they're moulded brutally into the special forces, the assassins, the officers and unflinching zealots who will pledge their unwavering devotion to the Emperor. For those who show exceptional spiritual and physical resilience, they may be selected to serve in the Adeptus Sororitas, the sanctified all-female arm of the ecclesiarchy. Whereas the more academic positions within the Ministorum, such as the cardinals, the missionaries, the preachers who spread the imperial faith, the sisters are the defenders of the faith and its sanctity. Their holy mission is to annihilate any who have strayed from the path of righteousness and are now beyond redemption. Their piety is evident in every aspect of their lives, from their fervent prayers to the saints of the Imperium to their meticulous care of their walking. Physical and spiritual conditioning go hand in hand, and a strong body is the best vessel for a strong soul. Combat training and drills are placed on the same level as spiritual rituals, as sacred as any hymn, and their martial practices as important as religious ones. When the sisters deploy to battle, they do so not only to eradicate the heretics, but also to reconsecrate the corrupted lands. For example, on the world of Gathalamor, which saw the forces of chaos corrupt huge legions of the citizenry, they were employed in the ritual and work of uncovering relics for the heretics. In the aftermath and successful cleansing of the world, it would take the sororitas stationed there weeks and months to purify and purge the relic structures and twisted cultists who remain. So their work is always ongoing. The sororitas, with their mobile battle chapels and invasion cathedrams, are the very symbols of their unshakable faith, not to mention intimidating and impressive structures to be deployed to the battlefield. They advance under the gaze of the adamantine gargoyles, which pour forth blessed water and holy flame to cleanse the ground they tread. Their holy wars and crusades will rage until every last vestige of heresy is eradicated, and all who oppose the Imperium and the Emperor have been purged. Their overarching mission is to keep the Imperium pure, free of corruption and twisted monstrosities. They fulfill this sacred duty every single day with unflinching, and some might say unthinking, devotion. For all of this...
So they're kind of like crazy a little bit. They're like so devoted to the Emperor. and the religion that it's almost like to a crazy level. Yeah. Hardcore dedicated. So big, their yearly soldier quotas in the millions. That's wild. Wow. Yeah, fanatical. That's a good word. Okay. But like it works though. The fangirls of the Emperor? Yeah, kinda.
Though the sisters remain, like most of the Imperial military apparatus, beholden to the bureaucracy of the Imperium, as are technically the Astartes. The more bureaucratic wing of the Faith Keepers of the Imperium are, as noted, known as the Adeptus Ministorum, or the Ecclesiarchy. They control and dictate the tenets, the dogma of how the Imperial Creed is seen and disseminated since its inception. It is, just like the Administratum, an absolutely vast service which is responsible for the religious instruction of billions upon billions of citizens. Its legions of preachers, confessors, missionaries, ministers and so on ensure that the Emperor is venerated in the correct manner and that civilian zeal is sufficiently channeled appropriately. Heresy on different worlds may be judged more loosely or more harshly, but generally speaking, even something as minimal as failing to report lapsed faith to the Ministorum is considered tantamount to heresy. The Ecclesiarchy, the Ministorum, is absolutely pervasive throughout the Imperium. It deals with blasphemy ruthlessly and with finality. Confessions are procured, conspirators named, guilty parties executed, often publicly in the most horrific manner possible. This is for most worlds not something unusual, but in fact a daily occurrence. Administrating such a purge is a sacred duty and is conducted by many amongst the Ecclesiarchy without joy or malice, or at least this is what they would have you believe. Over thousands of years, the Adeptus Ministorum has guided the servants of the Emperor, rooting out innumerable aberrant and abhorrent faiths. They identify and purge the Imperium of demagogues and firebrands. The period of time in which this can occur, though, is certainly variable. In some instances, cardinals or other high authority members of the Ecclesiarchy have been known to take their own interpretations of, say, the Emperor's Tarot too far, and by the time anybody's realised what's going on, severe damage has been done. This is nothing unusual, though. In fact, it's fairly standard for the Imperium. In a galactic empire of over 1 million worlds, not every single person can be watched carefully all the time with sufficient scrutiny.
There's over 1 million worlds. Oh my god, this place is so big. What the heck? You can't spell fanatic without fan. True. Fanatic. Crazy isn't fanatical enough. That's also fair. There's been one sister who's... who was the sister corrupted by chaos? I want to know about them. Some voluntarily go into battle in rags and a chainsaw for thinking... they've not worshipped hard enough. Oh shit. Saint Celestine. Huh. It's the entire Milky Way galaxy. I just wasn't thinking about how big I forgot that we can go all through like this massive galaxy. I don't know. It just didn't dawn on me that there'd be like 1 million planets. Wow. Huh. She really liked fighting. 15,000 years. Warhammer is it does take place in the Milky Way? Oh, I didn't realize. Well, I guess I realized because we talked about Earth and how like we're part of it and part of the story. Do you guys care if I snack while we watch? I feel like I should be snacking. I got some sweet potato puffs. Please what? I just forgot for a second, but I remembered. I got some sweet potato puffies from H Mart. They're really yummy. The stream is Warhammer. It's Warhammer canon. That's crazy.
And thus beneath the ecclesiarchical palace on Terra lie miles upon miles of twisting catacombs, inside of which are housed the records of the Ministorum. Priestly journals, great deeds of faith and purging scrolls of confession inked in the blood of those who had blasphemed. Not to mention the chronicles of Lord Bandaya and other similar but less false prophets are kept under a constant close guard in the depths of this ancient library. Even further still lies the Vault of Origins, a hallowed chamber whose location and method of access are known only to the ecclesiarchs and their closest advisor, wherein the earliest records of the Temple of the Saviour Emperor are preserved. However, as with all across the galaxy since the opening of the Great Rift, the Ministorum has had to defend against a litany of problems. Heretic uprisings, faithless citizenry are a constant scourge, often as bad as Xenos incursions upon shrine worlds. When possible, the ecclesiarchy will rely on local planetary militia, their regiments temporarily seconded to the Ministorum's control, to deal with such insurgencies and encroachments. However, where such hostilities pose a significant threat beyond the local garrison's ability to purge, the Ministorum deploys the Adeptus Sororitas to eradicate the enemies of the faith. And this is a point that I think is worth to underscore as we finish this chapter. For all the immense battles that we hear about throughout Imperial history, last stands made against the nightmare Xenos of the Tyranid and the Necron, legendary battles of the heresy, Astartes' assaults into heretic traitor marine planets and so on, the Imperium itself actually spends the vast majority of its time fighting against itself. This is not something you regularly get the feel for in 40k, but the Imperial Guard and the Sisters of Battle spend large amounts of their time dealing with uprisings, rebel assaults, sectors of hive worlds that fall to cults and disturbed traitors. And so while facing down 20-foot tall towering monstrosities, it's true your average guardsman or sororitas might be a little bit outmatched. But when facing human cultists, who maybe have an autogun, a machete, just a board with a nail in it, they're considerably more terrifying. And that's not to belittle them in any way. If the Imperium did not deal with these threats, hive worlds would fall too often and with devastating consequences. In fact, on some worlds where cultist uprisings get out of control, things can spiral very quickly. Just look at the infamous siege of Vrax or the disastrous apocalypse of the world of Krieg. And it's not to belittle the Sororitas either. They are more than capable of dealing with some of the most foul Xenos in the galaxy. They've been regularly known on occasion to save Astartes, save Custodes, but they are also absolutely a massive power force against the cultists, the human uprisings that we see all the time. So having this powerful force to step in is absolutely necessary. And when the Sisters of Battle administer the wrath of the ecclesiarchy to the enemies of mankind, they're a terrifying, unbreakable force to be reckoned with. They will without mercy slaughter the psychers, heretics and mutants within our midst using the chainsword, the purging flamer, the blade. They will keep the Imperium purified, and any who attempt to disrupt this holy duty will be scoured from existence. But how and when did this Sororitas come to be? Well, this all begins with the Age of Apostasy.
So they spend a lot of their time eradicating heretics and preventing uprisings in hive cities and stuff. They can face battle, and they do face like regular battle like a space marine or something, but they tend to do more work like in hive cities and stuff. They're excellent at burning out chaos. The Washington Monument's still around in 40k. That's cool. The threat of chaos and Xenos are more at the border or isolated. So they're fighting like the threat of chaos within the Imperium. Like the mental effects of chaos. The thought police. Yeah. The thought police. Human versus human are most of the battles. I see. Turned her hair white. Oh, we're about to listen about the Age of Apostasy. They purge heretics on Imperial worlds. They protect holy sites. Work with the Inquisition. Sometimes they gather for crusade force. Okay. Okay.
The Age of Apostasy was arguably one of the most significant and extremely disruptive periods in the history of the Imperium. Occurring early in M36 and spanning many decades, the Age of Apostasy was essentially a massive bureaucratic power struggle, which overflowed into actual warfare and saw not only the ecclesiarchy but the entire Imperium brought to a state of severe disruption. Not quite a full outbreak conflict such as the heresy, but not far off. The central figure for this shameful period in the history of the Imperium is Goj Vandaya, a tyrant and charismatic figure who is said to have risen through the ranks of the Administratum, eventually to also become the Ecclesiarch and High Lord of the Ministorum. He achieved these positions, it's said, through bribery, coercion, blackmail, and murder. These positions were immensely powerful, as the High Lords were, during this period, effectively the word of the Emperor in all but name. The ecclesiarchy has, since its expansion into the administrative affairs of the Imperium, continually caused friction within the Administratum itself, which generally views itself as the true central power of the Imperium above all others. So when the ecclesiarchy steadily became more powerful, this was a problem from the perspective of the Administratum, and things became...
Wait, I'm confused. The ecclesiarchy? Is that the Imperium? Is the ecclesiarchy the name of the... This word has been said this whole video, but now I'm confused. So the ecclesiarchy is the church. Okay. So the Imperium is like the actual government structure, and then the ecclesiarchy is the church. Ecclesiarchy. The church of the Imperium. Okay. Okay, just making sure that I understood. What was my other question? I already forgot. Like the Vatican. Yeah, that kind of makes sense, actually. Administratum is the paper pushers. Okay. So this Goj person used underhanded methods to rise to power. Vandire. So wait, how did Vandire wear two hats? What were the two hats he was wearing? Evil Pope guy. Okay. After the Emperor went into the Golden Throne, leadership of Imperium came to eventually fall. The High Lords. Oh. Okay.
Became so bad through M34 and M35 that eventually, when the Administratum gained more power, when it was in favour effectively, the ecclesiarchy decided that they may be better off not being based on terror at all, and would instead resituate themselves to the earlier mentioned Ophelia 7 in Segmentum Tempestus. The ecclesiarchical palaces on Ophelia 7 covered 90,000 square miles of surface and reached some 4,000 miles into the sky.
Oh my
They were described
God.
as only being rivaled by the palaces on Terra itself. Now finding themselves separated from the Administratum, the power of the ecclesiarchy grew once again, and they raised huge tithes across Imperial worlds to pay for the massive works being commissioned by cardinals across the galaxy. They also began to strengthen and build up their own military forces. Since M32, the ecclesiarchy had the all-male Frateris Templar, who had operated effectively as the private army of the ecclesiarchy. They also began forming their own naval fleets. Cumulatively, these forces would often rival that of the Imperial Guard. And this continued for some time. The ecclesiarchy had now effectively consolidated its power also upon Ophelia 7, and its separation from Terra and its actions since were beginning to become deeply concerning for many. Some 300 years later, though, under the new ecclesiarch of Gregor XI, the ecclesiarchy were moved back to Terra now at great expense. This new leader of the imperial cult believed that this was where they needed to be, being close to the emperor as much as possible. But all...
These methods to become head of church and... Oh! He was the head of the church and the state. That's never good. Maneuvered into being the top. I see. Everyone but me is heretic. Oh, jeez. Okay. Got it.
All this constant change came at a massive expense, and there were many who objected at the vast tithes still being recovered by the ecclesiarchy when there were more critical things that needed attending to, not just building churches and statues. The response was one of violence. The Frateres Templar were used to crush any dissent, and even the Assassinorum said to be used to eliminate voices of power who were questioning the ecclesiarchy publicly. The palaces, temples, halls of residence of the Ministorum grew ever larger and ever more lustrous. But in the early period of M36, the stability of the Imperium ran aground. Warp storms restricted considerable travel between worlds, and this placed strain upon the relationship and resources being harvested by the Administratum and the ecclesiarchy once again. Worlds collapsed, being cut off from support as they had done in the darkest times of the past, and many Imperial worlds were opened to the predation of Xenos and heretics alike. On many worlds, the iron rule of the ecclesiarchy was also now out of control. Not being monitored, they descended into extreme purges of heretics, burnings, executions, and just wild ritualized frivolity. This is where the figure known as Goj Vandaya enters the fray. Vandaya had risen to become the 361st High Lord of the Administratum, and at this time had a reputation as a staunch resistor to the dominance of the ecclesiarchy. Many speculated that he'd used assassins to gain his position, but any who spoke out about this against him mysteriously disappeared or were found dead. So soon, none dared oppose him. Just before his elevation to the position as a High Lord of Terror, Vandaya orchestrated the appointment of a weak-minded individual named Paulus III as the head of the ecclesiarchy, ensuring no resistance to his subsequent ascent. This was a figure that he knew he could easily control. And Paulus' reign was marred by rumours of depravity that circulated among the ruling elite of the Imperium. But again, where did those rumours specifically come from? Anybody can guess at that. But consequently, confidence in this new ecclesiarch was dwindling, and Vandaya seized this opportunity. Leading a loyal band of followers, he stormed the ecclesiarchal palace, eliminating any who stood in their way, and it is said that Vandaya discovered the ecclesiarch engaged in unspeakable debauchery, and that if exposed, would have brought eternal shame to the Imperium and the ecclesiarchy. Without trial, Pauli III was slain. It should be noted that this was merely the account of the victors, of course, and when it comes to someone like Vandaya, who can really say what happened, it's just as likely that he walked in, killed a completely innocent ecclesiarch out of hand, and came up with a reasonable story to cover this. Then again, he may well have walked in and found him in a state of affairs that would make even Slaanesh blush. Vandaya declared himself the new ecclesiarch and master of the Administratum, asserting control over both institutions. He was effectively now the Dr. Zaius of the Imperium. In the following days, Vandaya further consolidated his power through brutal purges of the Holy Synod. Some cardinals fled while others valiantly objected, only to then meet their demise. Vandaya replaced them with submissive figures or cunning allies who would share his agenda. With his authority firmly established, High Lord Vandaya unleashed his unhinged ambitions. He claimed to speak with the authority of the Emperor himself, communing with the God Emperor during trance-like states where he would behave erratically. Emerging from these trances, Vandaya would enter fits of rage, demanding that his every word be meticulously transcribed by an army of scribes and clerks who followed him around constantly. He was particularly keen on inventing ingenious torture methods and having these sent out to be trialed.
He's
Never
crazy.
one for reading or scripture though himself, many of his orders defied logic or reason, which would often result in violent actions being taken against different segments of the Imperium's population, or just offensively wasting resources and funds. Vandaya was undoubtedly a compulsive liar, and also quite obviously unstable, if not insane. He was obsessed with himself, and often made bizarre orders that led to the deaths, in fact, of millions. He relied on the sycophants who were themselves desperate for power, wealth, and stroking their egos who surrounded him in order to be successful. And Vandaya secured the will of many through his charisma and his confidence. But he was truly an abhorrent, disgusting individual who was only ever concerned with himself. The only real question was who and when was somebody going to stop him.
He's wild. Like, goodness gracious. Let's say 7 people controlled everything. He was 2 of the 7. Yeah. That's insane. And the fact, Augie says it best, the fact that he was considered too evil in a world where, like, everyone is kind of evil. Reminds me of my priest growing up. Or oh, that's so dark. Use the sisters as personal bodyguards. Act as concubines. Ew. Ew. Every power, hungry, and insane ruler in history rolled into one. Yeah, that's kind of what it sounds like.
Vandire had received word from his agents about a remarkable sisterhood residing on the secluded agro-world of San Leor. Known as the Daughters of the Emperor, they were said to hold unwavering devotion to, well, the Emperor, and of course, exceptional combat skills. The unsuspecting inhabitants of San Leor were taken aback when thousands of Vandire's followers just marched into their humble towns, demanding unwavering devotion to the High Lord under threat of death. At the gates of the convent, Vandire encountered resistance, the gatekeeper declaring that the Daughters of the Emperor recognized only the authority of the God Emperor and would not open their gates for any man. Vandire unusually remained completely calm. He requested,
"Get fucked. We're not opening our gates for any man. Fuck right off. If you're not following the word of the Emperor, then we don't care."
Entry into the convent with just a small retinue, promising to demonstrate the Emperor's grace upon himself. The Daughters of the Emperor reluctantly agreed, leading Vandire and his retinue into the central courtyard. There, Vandire dramatically brandished his rosarius and ordered one of his bodyguards to shoot him. With a trembling hand, the guard aimed his las pistol and fired at Vandire's heart. In an instant, a blinding white light enveloped Vandire, and when it faded, he stood unscathed. Witnessing this apparent miracle, everyone in the courtyard fell to their knees, pledging their allegiance to High Lord Vandire. But of course, in truth, Vandire had deceived the sisters, exploiting a common trick with simple worlds of the Imperium who may be unfamiliar with technology such as a rosarius. These small devices originating from the more technologically advanced age of humanity, or sometimes the aid of Xenos, similarly to things like digital weaponry, these are housed often in jewelry, creating an energy field projected around the wearer to deflect, in this instance, the guard's las pistol shot. The daughter...
Oh, so he lied. He just fucked with them and lied. Did you catch the original name Daughters of the Emperor? I didn't. Why was that their original name? Man, fuck this guy.
Daughters of the Emperor believed, though, that they had witnessed a true miracle and committed themselves to serving Vandire, changing their name from the Daughters of the Emperor to the now Brides of the Emperor, which I want to interject with a personal opinion. I hate this title, primarily because it sounds stupid. Let us all be glad that it didn't last for long. Now, as Vandire's personal bodyguard, the Sisters, or Brides of the Emperor, received advanced training, equipping them with the finest in Imperial weapons and armor. They were always by his side, ready to carry out any action or order that he demanded, be that personal defense or executing innocents on a whim. But we were entering into truly dark days, and it's often what's now referred to as the Reign of Blood, for anonymous millions had been burned in the fires of Vandire's reign. Wow. This is where an alternative faction of the Imperial cult would re-emerge. The Confederation of Light, thought long destroyed in M32, it re-emerged and would denounce Vandire as a traitor. Led by the preacher Sebastian Thor, the Confederation of Light spread its message as a church dedicated not to the politics and rule of the Imperium, but to the compassion and mercy of the Emperor to a brutalized people. And we'll talk more about how they were involved in one of the first wars of faith a little later. But more importantly was Sebastian Thor, for he was a supreme leader and orator. He could sway whole worlds to his cause. Their own crusade of true faith now cast aside those who remained loyal to the existing ecclesiarch. The moment of this crusade was so significant, and the damage that had occurred under Vandire so blatant, that even now Astartes and Mechanicus had resisted joining until the point of Thor actually travelling to Terra. Vandire had become clearly insane at this point, so much so that senior officials on Terra were attempting to remove him officially, but as head of the Administratum, he simply just dissolved the Senatorum Imperialis and declared the Mechanicus and Astartes heretics and traitors to the Imperium.
Oh my god.
Clearly things were not going to end in a peaceful resolution. and it's a blessing things did not end up far worse than they could have. An elite Space Marine strike force and the forces of the Adeptus Mechanicus assaulted the renegade High Lord Goj Vandire's seat of power, the massive ecclesiastical palace on Terra. They mistakenly, however, though, thought that Vandire was only protected by legions of zealous but ineffective Fraterus Templar troops who were as much a danger to an Astartes as an Astartes would to a Custodes. On the ground, the reality was starkly different. They found themselves now facing an all-female elite force clad in power armour, wielding somehow bolt weapons, and were fighting with a ferocity and passion remarkable even to the Astartes. In many ways, this conflict was something akin to the Siege of Terra 2 on a far smaller scale, because the sisters, fearless and fanatical, fought to the last, in the misguided belief that they were protecting the Emperor himself. It became a grinding and bloody siege of the ecclesiastical palace complex lasting many months, and Vandire's army withstood every assault. It would take the Adeptus Custodes to in fact resolve the matter, for no call for a discussion, no attempt to offer a banner of truce would be accepted by the sisters. They trusted only the word of Vandire. The Custodes at this time, even in M36, had largely kept themselves excluded from the rest of the Imperium since the heresy, and even now they remained pretty unaware of affairs that were going on outside. It took the Astartes reaching out to them in this time for their involvement to occur at all, and this was perhaps the earliest awakening, or the initial awakenings, of the Custodes to begin to realise that they needed to start reasserting some level of power back into the Imperium. The sheer shock and mourning of what had occurred to the Emperor in the heresy deeply scarred them for the longest time, but they would not truly return to the fore until Roboute Guilliman reappeared to take dominion over the Imperium. The Custodes, of course, more than any others, possessed incomparable knowledge of the Imperial Palace, and so to help resolve this stalemate, a small contingent of custodians navigated through a hidden labyrinth of passages beneath the palace to emerge near to Vandire's audience chamber. Immediately, they were confronted by sisters of the Ecclesiarch bodyguard. Clearly, they could see that these were no ordinary Astartes, though, and as the leader of the custodians laid down his weapons, he attempted to convince Vandire's faithful that the High Lord they served was an enemy of mankind, of the Imperium and of the Emperor. But even now, in the face of the true Emperor's servants, they could not be swayed, so strong was their faith and their belief. To prevent further loss of life, the Custodes saw the only option may be to lead these warriors to a place few, if any, had seen since the days of the Crusades. They followed the massive golden figures through the passages to arrive at the most sacred place in all the galaxy, the chambers of the Golden Throne, where the Emperor sat in peace and stillness. What they saw within they were sworn to secrecy on pain of death, but the experience of the Six Sisters here in these chambers, the halls of the Emperor, has never been revealed. But we can imagine the blessings and the prayers they may have uttered, their spirits collapsing with love and glory at the Master of Mankind, and who can say, perhaps the Emperor reached out to them, touching their spirit in some way, because finally when they emerged, their hearts were burning white hot with rage. They returned to their leader and laid out the High Lord's foul, unending treachery and corruption for all to know. Immediately renouncing their duties as Vandire's bodyguard, they sought out Vandire, who, upon seeing them, unleashed a bloodthirsty tirade, ordering them to march out and slaughter the invaders. The sisters' leader, Alicia, looked upon him without emotion in her eyes, and using the words that would one day be engraved forever upon the sarcophagus that holds her body, she simply stated, "You have committed the ultimate heresy. Not only have you turned your back on the Emperor and stepped from his light, you have profaned his name and almost destroyed everything he has striven to build. You have perverted and twisted the path he has laid for mankind to tread. As your own decrees have stated, there can be no mercy for such a crime, no pity for such a criminal. I renounce your lordship. You walk in the darkness and cannot be allowed to live. Your sentence has been long overdue, and now it is time for you to die."
Oh my
She brought her energy-wreathed blade down, decapitating the traitor, and cleaving through the Rosarius he had used to long ago deceive them all. Officially, the Age of Apostasy ended with the death of Lord Vandire, though the turmoil within the Imperium would last for centuries to come. The sycophants and power-hungry...
So who's the person that killed him? Dude, she's so fucking cool. If I'm a liar, I will die by this gun. I will die by this gun. See, I'm not a liar because the Emperor protected me. Oh, yeah. It's like a group of nuns calling themselves daughters of God, then being renamed. Yeah, I don't like the brides. The right? It's weird. Alicia Dominica, patron saint of the sisterhood. Yeah, she was cool. Seeing the emperor turned her hair white. That's why all sisters paint their hair white now. I understand. That's really cool. She was her. She will continue to be here even in death. Alicia Dominica. Alicia Dominica. She's cool.
Shells of human individuals who had followed Vandia blindly, while themselves lacking any true faith or character, were given brief trials and swiftly executed. The former power of the High Lords of Terror was returned, and they worked with the Inquisition to end the Assassin Wars of Vindication, an adjacent issue that's too adjacent for today. However, the position of Ecclesiarch remained empty, and many thought that Sebastian Thor would naturally succeed. To the shock of all, Thor refused, as he was too busy preaching the Imperial cult across the northern rim of the galaxy. He refused additional requests and was steadily beginning to earn the ire of the now insulted High Lords of Terror, who declared him to be a traitor, even dispatching forces to apprehend him. But Thor was no heretic. He willingly turned himself in and was brought before a highly embarrassing trial on Terror, personally overseen by the High Lords, who had almost immediately appeared to make themselves look quite absurd with this whole shambolic affair. Only made worse by the fact that after months, the verdict was eventually delivered by the Captain General of the Adeptus Custodes, stating that Thor was innocent of every charge brought against him, which feels actually pretty weird and unusual for the Imperium. Again, the High Lords offered Thor the position of Ecclesiarch, and again he refused, citing his desire to spread the word of the Emperor rather than simply sitting on the Ecclesiarch's throne on Terror. The High Lords were enraged. It took the Captain General of the Custodes to speak with Thor personally, and nobody knows just what was said. Some believe there may have been a threat of death, but this seems pretty unlikely knowing the Custodes' character and the spiritual beliefs of Thor. He doesn't seem the kind of person that would fear death. In fact, he seems he would be ready to die. So whatever utterances passed between them, the resolution still came that Thor would now agree to take the position of Ecclesiarch.
So Thor didn't want the power. He also wasn't a heretic. He got accused of heresy. He was like turning himself in. Bro, it wasn't me. It wasn't all me. Okay, bet you're innocent. We believe you. And we'd like you to have this seat of power. He was like, nah, thanks, I'm good. And because, wait, him refusing it the first time, is that why they accused him of heresy? Hello, Amiya, welcome in. Personal adventures are rare and largely lost check, so using one was an easy way to impress people. I see. Huh. You want you to be a High Lord? No? Well, that's illegal. So he had a stern talking to and was like, you know what? I'll be a High Lord. Since you suggested it. The High Lords of Terror can't take no for an answer. Yeah, I'm getting that vibe for sure.
But with specific conditions. Firstly, that he could travel freely across the galaxy, having the backing of the High Lords, and also to make whatever changes to the Holy Synod that he saw fit. And they agreed, and Thor became the 292nd Ecclesiarch. For the next century, Thor worked tirelessly in reforming the Imperium, once again establishing the Ministorum on Ophidia 7 and disbanding now the Frateris Templar. He would attach and found instead the Adepta Sororitas, the Sisters of Battl, in its place. Thor returned to Terra at the age of 112, where he died 6 months later.
Holy shit.
At the close of the end of the Age of Apostasy, the Inquisition also formed a secret order within its ranks to watch over the Ecclesiarchy more closely. Even now in M41, Inquisitors watch wars of faith very carefully to ensure the objectives laid down by the Ecclesiarch are both justified and not exceeded by those who are actually fighting. They also monitor the temporary armies of zealots and holy militia that rally behind members of the priesthood in theatres of conflict, again to ensure that such forces are appropriately disbanded after they're needed. These affairs are usually handled by the Ordo Hereticus to ensure that the Ecclesiarchy's standing military is never allowed to reach the levels it did under Vandia. The Confederation of Light essentially at this time usurped the temple of the Saviour Emperor's theology within the Adeptus Ministorum at Thor's behest. And in following Sebastian Thor's reformation of the ecclesiarchy, the church's focus shifted from the pursuit of a political agenda, as we were talking earlier, to one now that was more concerned with the pursuit of purely spiritual values. Whilst the ministerium remained powerful still in imperial politics, it never rose to conflict as it had done with the administratum, and its doctrines now emphasized the quest for individual piety and salvation through belief in the God Emperor. The Sisters of Battl were in time named the Chamber Militant of the Ordo Hereticus, for while they shared the faith of the ministerium, their ultimate loyalty was to the God Emperor alone, not the ecclesiarchy, and the Inquisition always answered and acted on behalf of the Emperor. So to make that clear, should there ever be a clash between the ecclesiarchy and the needs of the Imperium in the future as defined by the Ordo Hereticus, the Orders Militant of the Adeptus Sororitas would in actuality always look to the Inquisition first. Oh yes, incidentally, the head of Sebastian Thor is said to now be held within the collection of artifacts owned by the Necron known as Trazyn the Infinite.
Yeah, the Thor guy doesn't seem like he was... He seems like he was a pretty decent guy. Also, I think I missed it like 13 minutes ago, it says, but thank you for joining the membership trove too. Okay, Didi, welcome home. Hi, Sam. A church law states that he wrote, no men can serve in the church military. An intentional loophole. Oh, I see. Huh. Imperial inefficiency and ineptitude will always be a greater enemy. What the hell? Oh. Trazyn is in everything? I know the art is always really cool. He didn't deserve... Is it bad to have your head in Trazyn's... I don't know what you call it. His treasures? He sounds like a dragon.
Amid the rich and complex tapestry that is the Imperium of Mankind, the Adeptus Sororitas weaves its resolute threads. Its influence can be found throughout every corner of the vast empire. A formidable blend of martial might and unwavering devotion, they stand as the sentinels of faith, unyielding in their mission to eradicate those who defy the ecclesiarchy's will or profane the sanctity of the Emperor's domain. The Adeptus Sororitas sprawl across the entire galaxy. A vast network of their orders are scattered like stars, ready to confront any threat that challenge the tenets of faith. And while the ecclesiarchy ostensibly command their actions, it is the venerable Abbess Sanctorum who wields the true authority over the sisterhood, marshalling their powers with righteous conviction. Within the Adeptus Sororitas, a division emerges, cleaving them into the twin bastions known as the Great Convents. These monumental structures will serve as both their physical fortresses and organisational hubs, overseeing the intricate web of subdivisions that comprise the sisterhood. The Covenant Sanctorum, nestled upon the ancient world of Ophelia 7, rises defiantly with its towering bell spires and sentinel statues, its subterranean depths harbouring dungeons where the anguished cries of heretics echo through endless chambers and cells. Sebastian Thor, upon his acceptance of the mantle of ecclesiarch, would lay the foundations of the great convents, fashioning them to mirror each other with only subtle divergences in ceremonial customs. And this division was a calculated move, a safeguard against the ascent of another tyrant like Vandire. A similar division found root within the Holy Synod on Terra, where the Synod Ministra took its place alongside the Covenant Sanctorum. This deliberate separation ensured a delicate balance of power within the Adeptus
That's what you guys were saying.
its militant forces and spiritual leaders mutually overseeing each other's devotion and unwavering loyalty. Thus, the Adeptus Sororitas stands united and divided, an intricate tapestry of faith and vigilance woven to safeguard the purity and integrity of the Imperium, forever vigilant against the tides of corruption and the manipulations that might seek to undermine the Emperor's divine rule. In the face of grave existential threats, humanity once looked to the High Lords of Terra as the custodians of its destiny. They held the power that could unleash a crusade against those who would threaten its very existence. And those crusades are these grand religious spectacles orchestrating the full might of the Imperium's colossal war machine, the Astartes, Militarum regiments, Imperial Navy fleets, and alongside them all, the Adeptus Ministorum answers the call. For those who carry the purity of the Imperial Creed in every fibre of their being, these massive undertakings are known as the Wars of Faith, where the clash between righteousness and heresy can spark an all-consuming planetary or even system-wide conflict.
Dang.
When a war of faith is declared, SORORITAS orders at speed deploy their finest warriors, their battle hymns echoing through the void as Ministorum vessels descend upon the target. Sisters of Battl, accompanied by non-militant adjutants, pour forth from these holy fleets, ready to purge the heretics and sinners marked for annihilation by the Ecclesiarch. Alongside them, all manner of devout followers, missionaries, preachers who have spread the word of the Emperor in proximate systems will now gather there, devout followers, uniting them in a force of furiously zealous recruits. This is their chance to unleash their righteous fury upon the faithless. These often form awe-inspiring visions both in the physical but also audible assaults, as through a chorus of faith the ranks of believers surge forth, enveloping their enemies, even amid a hail of oncoming fire, leaving no trace of heretical presence that the Emperor's light cannot redeem. Wars of faith may endure for decades, even centuries, until every last scrap of the heretical enemy is purged and the ground they corrupted purified once again. Imperial history recounts the inaugural War of Faith as having been ignited in the early 32nd millennium. It emerged from the clash between the Temple of the Saviour Emperor, the dominant sect that held the Emperor of Mankind as a god, and the Confederation of Light, a rival religious faction born amidst the aftermath of the Horus Heresy. The Confederation...
I'm sure this is like official art. But it looks very funny. Treason is used to store literally anything. Something interesting, something too powerful. If Treason thinks you're worth being in his collection, you are important. Would you want your head displayed in an alien museum for eternity? I mean, if my head was being displayed in an alien museum for eternity, it means I'm probably important one way or another. So I'm okay with that. So no head. Head forever. Huh. Hi, Braga. How are you? He was taking a big sit. It just looks funny with his head.
The Federation also worshipped the Emperor as a divine figure, but preached ideals of selflessness, generosity, and humility in emulation of his sacrifice during the Siege of Terror. Such principles stood in stark contrast to the Temple's belief in the Imperium's divine dominion over the galaxy, where the Adeptus Ministorum as the Emperor's mortal representatives craved ultimate secular and spiritual power. The Temple's ascendancy within the newly recognized state church, the Ministorum, granted it absolute authority, leaving the Confederation as the sole alternative expression of the Emperor's faith. This alternative posed a very perceived threat to the Ministorum's power and political influence. And so, to suppress this challenge, the Ecclesiarch of that time manoeuvred to secure a unanimous vote from the Senatorum Imperialis, thus decreeing the First War of Faith against the Confederation of Light, by of course branding them as heretics, which was of course highly questionable. The Astra Militarum and the Imperial Navy received orders from the High Lords of Terror to assault Dimamar, the very cradle of the Confederation, their mission to eradicate this spiritual threat to the souls of the Emperor's faithful. Though some of the Confederation's followers managed to elude capture or went into hiding on Dimamar, eventually resurfacing during the Reign of Blood in the Age of Apostasy. The rival sect's power waned, yielding to the absolute political dominance of the Ministorum. The strength of their command would only grow stronger, so that in many ways we can view that the early Imperium was now transformed with the Ministorum reigning supreme. And this inaugural War of Faith would set a precedent even for the far future. Through the coming 4 millennia, it developed its own military forces, increasingly disregarding the other High Lords' arguments when declaring wars of faith, and these wars became as much a tool to eliminate internal political adversaries of the reigning ecclesiarchs and cardinals as to combat genuine foes of the Emperor. Ironically, it was during the Age of Redemption in the 37th and 38th millennia, after the reformation of the ecclesiarchy and the resurgence of the Confederation of Light under Sebastian Thor, the number of the Wars of Faith had then reached its zenith. The Ministorum would embrace somewhat more human ideals relative to the belief that it should support rather than dominate the secular authorities of the Imperium.
So the Wars of Faith were like, how do I say? They were not they were not necessary. The wars of faith were declared to eradicate political enemies or threats more so than actual heretics, or is it kind of like 50-50? I'm getting a little bit lost in the names here. I will not lie to you. Is the head conscious? I mean, if you're dead, it's no longer conscious, right? I'm sure Trazen would keep Riri in her entirety in his collection. He likes his collections to be complete. It was just random crusades ordered in Zeal. Okay. Makes sense.
The long and the bloody wars of faith.
I've actually never watched Futurama.
The tapestry of time and the history of the Imperium, reflecting the ever-shifting balance of power and belief, as the faithful and the heretical clash beneath the undying eyes of the Emperor's divine light.
Probably more for legit heretics, but could be used for political. Okay.
The Sisters of the Orders Militant ardently follow the combat doctrines established by the Daughters of the Emperor, their ancient predecessors. Their battle philosophy relies primarily upon pressing the attack relentlessly until the enemy is within earshot of their dying screams of repentance, their hymnals, their bolters and fire. They wear war gear of exquisite craftsmanship, offering a seamless fusion of offense and defense without compromising their agility on the field of battle. Remembering, of course, that the Sisters do not wear the same power armor as Astartes. Across the Imperium, many pieces of hardware are scaled to be appropriately used by humans of different stature. An Inquisitor or a Commissar could hardly pick up an Astartes bolt pistol, but they have their own design for a regular human. Similarly, the Sisters' armor is designed specifically for themselves without compromising its functionality. And without getting too into it all, Astartes' armor does tend to be heavier, more bulky, but that's why they have the black carapace and the interface to enable them to move in their armor as they would ordinarily. Other forms of power armor or just armor worn by different members of the Imperium can be fashioned differently. Maybe it's a bit more lightweight to enable them to still move around in it. It's still a powered suit, it just doesn't have quite the interfaces within it as you would have with an Astartes. And all of this refined armor was created when Sebastian Thor initiated the further development of the SORORITAS. And along with this, they also created now renowned war machines, Immolator tanks with their flames, Exorcist with their missile launchers, and the Sisters still wage war with these today. They also use more readily seen transports such as rhinos. And the SORORITAS, through the days since their inception, have many named leaders who are legendary among the Imperium, alongside which they bring to battle specialist fighting divisions. The Celestines, for example, are revered warriors of the Adeptus Sororitas, known for their unwavering resolve and refusal to yield to any. They're usually seen accompanying high-ranking leaders into battle, acting as their bodyguards and champions, raining relentless bolter fire and sacred flame upon the faithless, and it goes without saying, willing to sacrifice themselves to protect their canoness or other senior leaders of the Imperium. Induction into their ranks only occurs within the Sisterhood, as it is reserved for exceptional warriors who were most likely Sisters' superior once, possessing a tactical acumen and leadership qualities that are unrivaled. And this is entirely intentional, for were a canoness to fall in battle, then these veteran warriors bear the honour and burden of command being bestowed upon them by the Emperor himself. But in saying all that, let it not in any way diminish the standard Sisters of the SORORITAS, for the Battle Sisters are the stalwart defenders of the faith, having vanquished countless enemy horrors, in doing so to spread the light of the Emperor. Any sister may find the Emperor's guiding hand by her side in battle, and in so doing find herself capable of manifesting miracles on the battlefield. Their prayers grow more fervent with each display of divine intervention, fueling their resolve to eliminate those who oppose the Emperor and Imperium. Just as the Daughters of the Emperor before them, the Battle Sisters possess physical prowess and martial expertise, honed through rigorous training and combat tactics, unrelenting faith and discipline. Clad in their blessed power armor, armed with sanctified bolt guns, they strike fear into their foes. No matter the enemy, they will obliterate their targets, turning any who stand against them into gruesome, macabre displays of carnage. And for all those who demonstrate the highest levels of piety and faith, there are those who also can fall by the wayside. And when they do, dependent on their crimes, they may find themselves facing the worst enemies of humanity with a chainsword and little else.
Ooh.
For the sisters who truly commit irredeemable sins, their fate is far worse. We're talking about the Repentia and the Anchorites.
Whoa, that artwork was sick. What was happening there? That was such cool artwork. I'm sorry. Not like that's not the point of what this video is talking about, but holy shit, that art was so good. A demon lick? Ugh. Hi, Dave. Normal sister of battle is equal to a special forces guardsman. Huh. Demonic corruption of a battle sister. I see.
Repentia wear little more than rags as they're sent to charge across the battlefields to the sound of howled prayers and roaring chained weapons. A Repentia knows that she now only exists to slaughter the enemies of the faith or to give her life in trying to do so. Carrying a massive eviscerator chain blade, she unleashes her brutal fury. Chunks of flesh, shredded bone fly, as with every slash and swing she drowns steadily in the blood of her enemies. Each victim behind her, a pile of shredded remains. But all she feels with every enemy she puts down is the Emperor's forgiving gaze. Unsurprisingly, a considerable number of the Repentia fall in battle. Their reasons for finding themselves in this role are usually pretty severe though. It could be something like disobeying the command of her superior, to give in to a cardinal sin of curiosity, and many more. But usually it's related to some kind of desertion of holy duty. Once handed over to the Order's militant, these sisters will undergo a merciless spiritual and physical reconditioning, and honestly, the less said about that, the better. Repentia are typically a first strike assault tool, giving them an opportunity to wreak penitent slaughter on the enemy, but also likely they will die very quickly. Still, it is possible for Repentia to redeem themselves through deeds of great bravery and slaughter. Some of the most faithful champions of the SORORITAS were at one point Repentia, such as Celestine, the living saint. Any sister who is able to survive being a Repentia can often be very highly revered among her peers, considered to have of course been touched by the Emperor. Yet this has also led to the very disturbing practice by which some sisters will even go so far as to deliberately cause infractions so as to then submit themselves to becoming Repentia.
So Repentia. So when a battle sister like does something against the faith, basically, like you said, curiosity, or maybe speaks ill or doesn't do a prayer, whatever, they're punished by becoming Repentia. It looks like they shave their head and then they have to be on the front lines, and it's like a way to repent. And if you manage to survive it, it's like you've been touched by the Emperor, and then you almost like work your way back into the ranks of being a battle sister, and you're almost even more highly regarded. And because of that, they would like intentionally do an infraction to be Repentia, to like prove themselves or something. Some do it for the lulz. Yeah, basically. You kiss a girl just to maybe become a named character. 1 in 1 million chance. But if they break... Oh, so you can only be Repentia once. And then if you break the oath again, you're executed. Being a Repentia for content. I see. Okay. They survived. They're welcome back to the Order. They were ashamed by the church. They volunteered in the punishment. Gotcha. It gets worse if they run. Sisters being bratty to get punished is what I'm seeing. They're just being brats. They just want to be punished. You know, that's fair. I see that. Gotta sin hard. Yeah. You gotta sin hard to get that promotion, I guess. It's a great honor if you live after being a Repentia. If they are that confident or brainwashed, it can sort of work out. Makes sense.
But speaking then of Celestine, within the ecclesiarchy and unsurprisingly within the sisterhood, there are many figures whose divine actions or powers rise above that of the norm, and very often these figures may be deemed worthy of the title saint. Saints in the Imperial cult are individuals who have sacrificed their lives for the Emperor and are revered as religious icons, or their actions have been seen to be specifically miraculous that no other account can be than the Emperor working through them. They provide inspiration and represent various causes within the Ministerium, and this can range from local figures being worshipped to others who are honoured throughout the entire Imperium. Their names will adorn planets, voidcraft, streets, even in the naming of children. Saints must be formally recognised, though, of course, by the ecclesiarchy and considered exceptionally holy individuals, with their actual words and deeds being attributed to the God Emperor himself. They can be warriors, leaders, liberators, teachers, writers who have served the Imperium and its faith. Others may be elevated to sainthood after their death, or of course as martyrs. So while saints can be anyone really in the Imperium and living, there's a difference between this and when we speak about living saints, as these are usually those members of the Adepta Sororitas who are said to be so holy in mind, body and spirit that somehow they manifest something of the sacred power of the Emperor himself literally on the battlefield. Living saints will glow with power. Even the least faithful will have no choice but to collapse to their knees in her presence. Very often they're seen with angelic wings, halos and so forth. A living saint will usually, though not always, manifest from among the ranks of the Adepta Sororitas, but it can occur among others such as Saint Sabbat, although Sabbat also has some rumours about her involvement with the ecclesiarchy and the Sororitas. Curiously, not entirely dissimilarly to the heretical worshippers of chaos, living saints most often only appear when there's a significant amount of belief, of faith, in which we see countless millions of the faithful taking up arms in the name of the Emperor, and truly extraordinary feats are performed. Then their arrival is often as swift as their departure, but most often living saints will have changed the course of history, all for the better. But these individuals are also of great interest to the Thorian faction of the Inquisition, who regard them as vessels of the Emperor's power in the model of Sebastian Thor himself. Unfortunately, this has also made them a target for the polar opposite, enemies who have sought to capture a living saint and dissect her in order to discover the source of her powers. And as noted, one of the most well-known saints, especially among the Sororitas, is Saint Celestine, who is long revered as a divine figure in the Imperial cult. She was a sister Repentia, as we said, who rose after battle, becoming a beacon of strength and vengeance. The most saintly and also disturbing aspect, though, of Celestine's being is her journey to reincarnation, whereby she has to climb this mountain of her own dead skeletal remains to achieve life once again. She's a focus of veneration for the Adepta Sororitas throughout the centuries, and Celestine has fought tirelessly, rising from defeat and bringing renewed vigour to vanquish the unrighteous. She fought against...
Why is her hair black? I thought they dyed their hair white. If she's a saint, wouldn't she have light hair? The Emperor's personal girl bosses. It's a theory that's not really confirmed in canon. Celestine has died like 10 times? Not all of them do. It's just a cultural thing. Okay.
Against the forces of chaos upon Cadia in its final days, and was there to witness the revival of Rabute Guilliman. But to give another example, one of the earliest known saints was of course Euphrates Kira, not a sororitas, but a perpetual and a remembrancer during the Great Crusade. She escaped death at the hands of the traitors, and finding herself upon Terra, Kira became an avid proponent of the Lectitio Divinitatis. This was the forerunner to the imperial cult that held the Emperor of Mankind to be the god of mankind. Her faith in the Emperor would prove to be so absolute that it would provide psychic protection against the powers of demons summoned from the warp in this time, and Kira would go on to become one of the earliest saints, later formally recognized by the Imperial Creed. But then finally we return once again to the grounded world of the militant forces of the Sisters. For while the divine saints are the highest point of faith and worship, there are those who fall so far they are only suitable for a life of suffering in their final days of service. The Anchorites.
The Anchorites? I don't like the way that sounds. It's only like one order of sisters that dyes their hair like that. Oh, okay. Okay. Some are bald. Oh, I was thinking the bald ones were the Repentica. Like they shave their head, but I see. I guess it's just, it varies. There's different like clans or something. She doesn't have time for that much self-care because she's died so many times. She's too busy. Fair enough. She doesn't wear shoes, feet exposed. Orders. I see orders.
We all know the horror of the ecclesiarchy in using their so-called penitent engines to punish the damned, machine constructs to which the faithless or the traitor, the heretic, are strapped in, torment amplifiers spliced into their synapses, chemical injectors implanted into their spines, their minds stripped of all thought except pain and spiritual guilt, which drives forward the penitent engine's actuators and servos.
I'm sorry, the penitent engine... The penitent engine is a machine that's powered by a quote-unquote criminal being punished? Is that what I'm hearing here? Hello, Victor. I'm good. How are you? I want to look good in my coffin? Yeah, dude, me too. Drugs, pain, and guilt. Alicia Dominica served the Order of the Ebon Chalice. A lot of drugs. Huh.
Thrashing at the enemy wildly in an attempt to slaughter them or bring themselves to an end as quickly as possible. For those among the sisters who commit such a heresy or who fled from battle as a repentia, they can expect to be placed in similar constructs known as mortifiers. But for those repentia who not only fled, but betrayed their sisters in battle, an even worse fate awaits. For they are further entombed behind a sarcophagus of thick adamantine casing, and this protects them from incoming fire and desperately swung blades, denying them the release of death. These pitiful souls...
Earlier I said, wow, this miniature is really cool looking. I think I'm about to eat my words, aren't I?
...are the anchorites. The sisters behind these lifeless masks are forced to face their long-suffering torment in absolute isolation, enduring years or even decades of agony alone, screaming to themselves, unheard by all. Many will have lost all sense of their rational mind before finally meeting their end.
Oh god. Oh god. That's torturous. Thanks, Victor. I appreciate that. Yeah, they made me think of an Iron Maiden tale.
The Indomitus era in M41, within the ancient and the hallowed halls of the...
Can we put dual logs in that contraption? Oh my god. That made me laugh. Oh my god.
The Imperium, whispers of past rites speak to the history of the Emperor and his fabled warriors who held back the forces of darkness. Throughout the millennia, the challenges have shifted and humanity has answered the call. The Sisters of the Adeptus Sororitas stand resolute. They are the shield and the spear of humanity's faith, and to carry out their purging wars against the heretics, they are structurally divided into illustrious orders, each a bastion of unwavering devotion. Their existence intricately woven into the fabric of the great convents. These convents are the ultimate custodians of sacred traditions. They govern and guide the sisters in all of their righteous endeavours. A sister, once initiated into an order, treads an age-old path that is rarely strayed from. At the day of her armouring, she becomes bound to her order until her soul is finally embraced by the warm, eternal blanket of the Emperor's grace. In rare instances, a sister may move from one order to another. For other sisters, where grievous injuries strike them down and permanently impair their bodies, if they're unable to be repaired or augmented, then these valiant warriors may relinquish their combat roles, embracing instead the ministrations of service or the solemn duties of ceremony. Flexibility melds with duty for the sisters, and they will adapt, embodying the multifaceted essence of their calling. For there are as equally important non-combat roles for the sisters as much as those who deploy to battle. Their fortress sanctuaries are the heart and haven for every order, and within these sacred bastions, the Sisters of Battle spend their lives devoted to worship and the forging of unyielding spirit. Orders often have more than one sanctuary which are dispersed across the territory which they oversee. But worship, of course, is not their only concern. For the Order's militant, the sisters embody the very epitome of martial perfection, committing themselves entirely to achieving purity of spirit through the mastery of combat. They follow the stringent, grueling training regimes blended with the doctrines established by the Daughters of the Emperor, their long-revered precursors. And whilst the SORORITAS do not possess the sheer weight of numbers as that of the Militarum, they, like the Astartes, bring to the theatres of galactic war an elite martial prowess that is nearly unmatched among the defenders of humanity. In M41, many place the Sisters of Battl as equals among the legendary Space Marines, the Astartes. But such comparisons are of course debatable, for whilst the SORORITAS wield some specific abilities not held by the Astartes through the powers of their faith, they also lack the transhuman adaptations of the Astartes. But nonetheless, many are the Astartes who would not be alive were it not for the stalwart dedication of the sisters in mastering their skills, and many who were formerly certain about their opinions regarding the divinity of the Emperor would spend time and shed blood alongside the orders of the SORORITAS and discover that in fact they had suddenly doubts. Within the indomitable fabric of the Imperium, where countless worlds and their diverse cultures collide, the sisters of each order stand united by a common faith and shared teachings. They relinquish the benefits of their origins in order to serve the Emperor with unwavering loyalty. Each sister, their veins coursing with righteous zeal, seeks to purge the galaxy of heretical tyrants and immolate the abominable Xenos monstrosities that dare to threaten the sanctity of humanity. Yet, the Daughters of the Emperor were more than a community of warriors and devoted themselves to a wide range of disciplines by which they could serve the God Emperor. Many of these disciplines survived the Age of Apostasy and have been further developed by the Adepta Sororitas through specialized categories of non-militant orders. One example are the well-known skills of the Orders Hospitaller. With exception to those who hail from the Astartes chapters, their augments proving far above the capabilities of a sister, or indeed many among the biologists, they provide expert medical support to all branches of the Imperial military. These sisters demonstrate their faith through healing and bringing comfort and relief to those in the most harrowing of battle zones. They aid soldiers in the harshest conditions or planets beset by plagues sent from the horrors of the warp. They perform complex surgeries and provide compassionate care, often being revered as holy figures by those they treat. And Sisters Hospitaller accompany various military forces, including the Astra Militarum and Inquisitorial armies. They work alongside the Order's militant. They also conduct research into new enemy or weaponized plagues, even psychic assaults, and use their findings to collaborate with other orders so as to better combat mutation and shield humanity. They also study the physiology of enemies and assist ecclesiarchy confessors in extracting confessions from heretics with expert medical care. Expert medical care being in fairly large quotation marks there, by the way. There are many types of orders that provide ancillary services within the Adepta Sororitas, as well as the ecclesiarchy and wider Imperium. While the orders militant are the most visible and well known, within the Sororitas there are many individual orders tasked with highly specialized duties. For example, the Order Fenestris maintain the extremely complicated illuminated armor glass panes of the Imperium's most holy shrines and cathedrals. Other types of orders carry out sacred duties that give them a great deal of influence within the God Emperor's domain. But whatever their task, make no mistake, they are all Sisters of Battl. While a sister during a war of faith may find herself alongside hundreds of sisters who all stand united against the darkest enemies of humanity, their canoness leading them with unwavering determination, at times the Sisters of Battl must also venture forth as smaller units with a specific objective in mind. And this may occur on worlds where a small deployment of sisters were caught off guard by an enemy invasion. They now find themselves as the most senior military force upon a world, and very often their actual battle capabilities are eclipsed now by the hope and inspiration they give to the human militarum forces they assist in overseeing. Again, in some respects not dissimilarly from Astartes. Wherever and whatever they find themselves facing, each unit of sisters embodies the focused determination of the Adepta Sororitas. No matter their number, nor the task at hand, they will be a swift and unyielding instrument of the Emperor's will, surging with righteous fury. In the grim darkness of the far future, the Sisters of Battl are the holy vessels of the human spirit, unrivaled in their piety of faith and fury, relentlessly marching towards their foes, unleashing showers or walls of cleansing fire that purge the Xenos and the heretic alike. On the battlefield they bring judgment. For humanity they bring the peace and care of the Emperor, ministering to the wounded, the lost, the downtrodden. They embody the very spirit of the Emperor of Man, a guiding light in a galaxy consumed by darkness. By their hands divine wrath is made manifest. They are the physical manifestations of the faithful. A sister walking through an embattled hive world is a shining bastion, a beacon of hope amidst the encroaching shadows, a torch in the darkness, a sign that the Emperor is here and that he has not abandoned the souls of this world. In the dark days of the Indomitus Crusade, while the sister's indomitable spirit burns, the Imperium will stand, resolute, unwavering, unbreakable.
So they're really, like, well revered, I guess, is the word I'm looking for. They're, like, really respected is what it sounds like. And quite powerful. Huh. Okay. Saint Celestine always has doves. Yeah, that's interesting symbolism. Pour some holy water and pray harder. We Gucci? Yeah. Luton's voice is giving you the ZZZs. Yeah, his voice is super calming. Super calming and, like, it's good to listen to, but also, like, I'm like, oh man. I really, like, I'm glad I'm not more tired than I am. No, I'm gonna watch one other one. It's about the sisters as well, but I kind of liked... We watched 2 Angron videos last time.
Even if you're able to kill me, heretic, my soul shall then become like fire. I shall be taken up by the Emperor, and shall blaze as one with his divine light. Forevermore shall I guide the faithful, lending them my strength until you and your cursed kind are scoured from existence.
Wow.
If you are able to kill me.
Aha! I like that. It's pretty good. Yeah, Luton is really, it seems really in-depth, so why do they all have to be so attractive? I think they could look any type of way and I would find them attractive. So yeah, so last week when we watched our Angron lore, I watched from 2 different people and I liked getting the different perspectives. Because everyone kind of, you know, we all have our own perspective, right? So we'll see and pick up on and find importance in different details. So I don't remember who recommended this Luton video to me. We'll definitely check out more. But then the other video we have is the Adric podcast one. So, oh, we gotta make sure that I like it. I did, okay. So yeah, this is the other one we're gonna watch. Because I kind of want to see the different perspectives of the Battl sisters. The sisters of Battl. Yeah, they do seem very badass and I really like, I don't know, I mean they're like low-key crazy. I guess that video kind of went over like the whole history of how they formed and where they started and where they are now, right? And like they have some cool concepts and stuff, but seeing where they come from and seeing how it's like crazy religious zeal is what gives them power is interesting. Yeah, I did not check the volume for this video, so if it's a little loud, bear with me when they talk. Oh, okay. But who doesn't like a crazy lady? You know? If hot wire crazy
Welcome
or something
everyone
like
to
that.
another episode of the Adeptus Ridiculous
Okay, I think we're
podcast.
good here.
My name is DK, and I used to be a Warhammer 40k newbie, but thanks to our Warhammer 40k veteran of the streets, Bricky, I've learned a lot, and we hope you have too. And before we get into today's episode, if you enjoy the podcast, head on over to patreon.com/AdeptusRidiculous, where you can support
I don't think
the
so,
podcast
Alfie.
and get a bunch of bonuses.
But you
know,
can-
stuff like bloopers, some real slick HD
You can,
posters that are
submit
totally not
video
waifu,
suggestions in
totally not about
Discord.
big abs.
I do
And,
look
you
through
know,
them.
some behind
That's
the
how I found the
scenes stuff.
Luton video,
It's a good
so.
time. Yeah, you get access to the Discord, all that good stuff. And oh, if I'm not mistaken, Bricky, there's another pretty special Patreon exclusive that I think you should tell the people about.
Oh, you're just a generous man, DK. So maybe some of you saw us recently. Well, if you remember, in our Schola Progenium episode, we made our little joking fan fiction idea, and someone brought it to life, in which we retweeted on Twitter and, you know, showed all of you. I gotta be honest, it's pretty harsh in the sense of I'm just like, oh my god, someone made this. But in classic Adeptus Ridiculous fashion, we chose the path of most idiocy and hired said artist to make us more comic panels. And if you'd
That's
like
incredible.
to see these comic panels, they will be on our Patreon.
I think they do
and
as
will be
well.
exclusive to said Patreon
Cool.
for the first week, and after that, it'll go up on the main web.
This one is specifically Matriarchs and Martyrs. I think it was the newest one. Yeah, there was a video 4 years ago, and then this one 3 years ago, and I was like, we'll just watch this one, sure.
Website for everybody else. Man, we've seen the new one. I think I like it, even though it's so like cringily cute. It's
Well, the thing is, like,
That's
it's
describing every
cringily
VTuber.
cute, right? Like
We're
you said,
cringely
but
cute, right?
The dialogue is so fucked up. Like the things these two say to each other about what's going on in the Schola Progenium. Oh boy, it's rough.
I love it. I love the backgrounds. It has no right to be this good. At the same time, it is still awful in the best way. But you know, we're paying artists, and that's always a good thing, you know.
Yes, it is. What's
So if you
up?
want to see patreon.com
Base.
next week.
I use all
Give
my
or
stream
take.
funds for
Give or
art.
take.
Let's
I don't
go.
Yeah, schedules depending, it should.
Schedules
but,
depending. Besides that, there's merch in the description. Go to town, whatever, man. DK.
Yo, I don't know what's going down.
Oh my
this
God.
episode.
Speaking of art, though, I got some new emotes back. So today or tomorrow, I think I have slots on Twitch. So I'll be uploading them on Twitch. If we unlock any slots on YouTube with memberships, because my memberships are open, yippee! They're open! Officially, memberships opening party. Then I'll add them there. I don't know like how you unlock them, but I know the more memberships you get, I think, the more slots you unlock. But yeah, and I'll put them in Discord too. So I teased one. But yeah, speaking of paying artists, we got those back. So yippee!
Again, this is gonna be some good shit.
Two are animated.
I'm
We're-
so hyped.
Yay!
We're literally recording this like 15 minutes early because Bricky was so hyped. He's like, "Let's do it. I'm ready. You're gonna love this. This is
That's
gonna be good
cute.
shit." So I'm
So we gotta do the Alpha Legion. That's not today. We're working on that. That's one of our major Patreon goals. Don't worry, that's in its work. I need to read the book, so give me some time on that one. We're doing our full episode on the sisters today, DK.
Oh, no wonder
Yeah.
you were so excited.
I know.
Girls, let's
Oh
go.
my god, that's a good thumbnail whip.
Oh,
That's
yeah,
that's so good.
we just saw the work in progress thumbnail in the chat, and it's, boy, that's a banger.
That's actually great because the character in the back is actually one of the newly released models called the Dogmata, and she's got this big old like staff, and it looks like you can bonk someone with it, so it's fantastic.
Oh my god.
Large no horny written on.
looked like a yaoi paddle to me. No horny paddle.
Love it.
Hell yeah. So now, as we discussed prior, and how now that we're doing with the new legions, is that we had like the origin story, which we did, the Age of Apostasy, the original Doge Van Dyer starting meme, where it all began, which is always great.
Do you guys not know about yaoi paddles? I'm showing my age with this one. Who in chat knows about yaoi paddles? This is an important question. Legitimately. I know, I wish I didn't. Okay, in the early anime con times, in the early days, the dark ages, if you will, when anime cons were in hotel ballrooms and lobbies, and not proper conventions, people would sell these like wooden paddles. And like they'd have all sorts, like they would say whatever. It would say like Yuri, it would say yaoi, it would say whatever. But I think them having yaoi written on it was like the most common. And people would like buy the paddles and carry the paddles around and like spank you. I never got, yeah, almost think of like a fraternity paddle. Yeah, exactly, Frank Smith. It's almost like a fraternity paddle. Like it's like a wooden fraternity paddle, but it would say like yaoi or yuri or whatever. If you Google yaoi paddle, like I'm sure you can see pictures, but yeah, people would like carry them around and stuff because it was stupid, funny, haha meme. But then they would also spank you with it if you were being like a bad boy, I guess, or a bad girl. I don't know. I never got spanked with them because I was a literal child. Thank fucking God. But yeah, they got banned because people weren't like asking permission to spank people with said yaoi paddles, and it was a whole thing. But yeah, it was the early super cringy anime con days. I mean, it should have been consensually, but I think people like wouldn't ask, you know? Yeah. This is fine. Yeah. Anyway, so that's a yaoi paddle, and that picture of the no horny bonking kind of reminded me of a yaoi paddle, so.
And of course, we know how they came about, but this is more of a discussion of the overall factions, some characters, some of the orders, things like that. Because it's similar like what we did with the Necrons and the World Eaters and Orcs and stuff.
Sure. When you mention the birth of Doge Van Dyer, I think we should refer to that as the birth of a god, because
he's such a shithead.
He really is. The fact that we've been able to like put Doge Van Dyer on a pedestal is incredible.
Wow.
Doge Van Dyer was so bad.
He was literally worse than Hitler.
Literally worse.
He was on like the 5 Hitler scale.
Wow.
But he's a cute Doge now. So
he's a cute dog now.
Yeah, he's a good boy.
And in a sense, the thing he would hate the most is us turning him into an adorable mascot. Like, no, sororitas, don't turn me into marketable plushies.
That's true. So when is that happening, by the way?
Dude, I gotta do research if we want Doge Van Dyer plushies. That's gonna take a while.
So you're saying there's a chance?
So you're saying I have a chance?
So you're saying there's a chance? That's not a no.
That's not a no, but it's not a yes. Actually, that is a great segue. Just call me Dean Kamen. You know Dean Kamen's dead?
Really? Who's Dean Kamen?
Yeah.
I thought he was still kicking.
I don't believe so.
I feel like I should know who that is.
Dark, dude.
Oh wait, maybe he is still alive.
Oh no.
No, wait. Oh wait, he is still alive.
Oh.
Yeah, he is still alive. Never mind, I lied. I thought he died.
I keep that in, Shy. Don't put that in the blooper reel. Keep that
shit.
in.
All right, he's still alive. Emperor has his graces. Anyway, DK, did I ever tell you why all the sisters have white hair?
Oh, you did, but I can't remember why. I think it was like, was it Alicia Dominica that talked to the Emperor?
Yeah, okay. I wasn't sure. I wasn't sure if I mentioned that.
Wants to look like her. It's not that their hair is actually white. They all just want to like mimic her or something.
I like it.
Pretty close.
Like that? Okay.
I don't think I mentioned this in the Age of Apostasy episode, but when good old Alicia Dominica, Saint Dominica, went to go into the Emperor's throne room with the custodian, she actually had like regular brown black hair or something. But when she emerged from the throne room, her hair was like completely bleached white.
Yeah.
Either due to the psychic power of the Emperor or some reason. So it's actually an unknown fact, or a little known fact, that you don't need white hair to be in the Sisters. Celestine has like black hair. You know, like you actually don't need to have white hair, but by dyeing your hair white, you're kind of paying homage or more so paying respect to Saint Dominica and to the idea of purity of faith. So you actually don't need it if you don't feel like it, but often they do because, you know,
or maybe like once.
I was gonna say, I don't think I've ever seen a sister that didn't have white hair, though I haven't really looked into it.
Well, a lot of them are like bald too.
Oh my god, she talked to one man and it made all her hair go gray. So true, bestie. She talked to one man and all her hairs turned gray. That's so good, Dave. Oh my god.
Oh, that's true. That's also true. They either don't have hair or it's just like white.
Heretic Saint. Oh.
Yeah, I mean, they have plenty of colors. Actually, in the Sisters of Battle Codex, the newest one, they have a couple of the Order Minoris, which are some of the lesser orders, and some of them have like black hair, some of them have gray, some of them have red. There's actually quite a few different color schemes that you can do with the hair color, which I actually like a lot because it allows you to just kind of color the hair how you feel like it, and it's technically lore friendly. But it's actually because it's one of the major factors of the Sisters is their white nun type garb. Yeah. So it's kind of a neat concept.
So not too many Sisters players are like painting their hair like green and blue and making like an anime troupe or something. Just,
I mean, if there was gonna be one, that there was gonna be.
I love how this one's painted. The colors are so good.
This will be the faction, probably.
Yeah.
So I guess it's fair.
There's probably a lot of. There's probably a couple people that actually do that.
So I want to talk a little bit about some of the more interest. Let me close out of this tab of Dean Kamen. Let me talk a little bit more about some of the.
I know. I've been saying next. I think I tweeted about it at like midnight one night because it was in my head. But I would love to get stuff and paint a miniature of the battle, the Sisters of Battl, one for like themed after each Glitch Stars girl. So for anyone that doesn't know, I'm not a talent member of Glitch Stars. So like my stream is my own. It's completely unrelated. But I am a manager in Glitch Stars. So I'm a manager of the Dreamers generation for Glitch Stars. So Nova Alchemy, Mogus, Honey Explosion, and Hiragi Emuri. I'm their manager. And and I'm friends with a lot of the Glitch Stars girls. So I thought it would be so cute to paint a miniature themed after each of them. And then like eventually give it to them or something. I would love to do that. If I can get my hands on any like miniatures and painting supplies and stuff, that'll be my first task. Obviously I'll stream it too, but I would love to do that so much. Yeah. Only Sister of Battl who can use the psychic powers. Oh, okay.
The interesting, like, there's one thing that's really fucking cool about the Sisters. Now, obviously, this is my favorite faction in the whole game. You know this. Just in case the chat and the YouTube comments need to be reminded, there's a reason why I'm a huge fan of this faction. And there's actually a lot of reasons, and I'll probably get into some of the more specific reasons later. But I think that one thing in particular is that a lot of people used to hearken the Sisters of Battl to the female variation of the Space Marines because they wear power armor and they use like bolters and stuff, right? But when you really look at them, it really couldn't be farther from the truth. Like they have power armor, right? But it's a combination of the two things where I appreciate Space Marines for what they are, but I'm also a big Guard fan, right? I love my Guard. Sisters do not have genetic upgrades. They are normal human women.
That's true.
There is nothing about them that's special besides their unflinching, unwavering faith, which can create miracles and stuff, and the fact that they're afforded power armor. They have power armor.
I thought that they did have like some sort of spiffy upgrade. I
They
didn't
are
realize
badass.
they were just like
That's crazy.
humans with faith.
They're just normal humans. That's kind of why one of the reasons I'm a big fan of them, because it kind of combines a little bit of that guardsman feel, where they're just normal people, but it's this really awesome concept that through unflinching, unwavering mental faith and fortitude, that they can create and cause miracles on the battlefield and fight off like greater demons by just shouting sermons and shooting them with bolters. And they're just regular fucking ladies. They're just normal, regular humans, but they have this laughably devout feel to them. And of course, I think their style really speaks a lot to them. You know, we always talk about, and I always mention, you know, taking culture and putting it into the group. Obviously, the volume of nuns, Catholic nuns, it's very evident in this one.
Yeah,
this is literally nuns with guns.
It actually kind of sounds like they're a nice little mix of like Space Marine and Guard, because they've got like the cool armor, they've got bolters, they've got some powers, but at the same time they're just mortal humans fighting the good fight. So it's kind of nice in the mix. If you like Space Marines and you like the Guard, you know, put them together, and what do you got? It's a sister. I was gonna do the pineapple pen thing, but then I decided not to because, that's a
thanks for not doing the pineapple pen meme.
No problem.
I was terrified.
Managing all four sounds like a lot of work. I mean, it's work. I'm trying to do more work. I would say that they're very independent people, so I'm trying to force them to rely on me, you know? Like, independent in a good way. I'm trying to, there's a better word for it, but it's such a wholesome idea, right? Isn't that cute? I would love to do it. Sunny has probably the easiest one-to-one. Yeah, maybe so, but more like I want to take inspiration for each talent's design and stuff and paint it. It just would be so fun, and I love being artsy. They combine the best of both worlds. Yeah, I see that. A lot of sisters actually kind of don't like Space Marines because they see them as mutants. I could see that too. Oh, my alarm's going off. Sorry.
But yeah, I mean, it does kind of feel like they're a little bit of a combination, but they're so different in like their art style, because they're covered in like I don't know how to pronounce it properly. I always am told I'm pronouncing it wrong. The fleur-de-lis.
Oh yeah. Fleur-de-lis.
Fleur-de-lis, but that's fine.
Fleur-de-lis, whatever. Yeah, they're just covered in those. They have the Inquisition symbols, but it's a combination of that and the fact that they're what might be argued as one of the most evil fucking factions of the Imperium. Like, it's ballsy for GW to be like, yeah, I'm gonna take the all-female order and make them the most fucking evil. You know, you see all those babies, lobotomize them, carry my ammo. Hey, that guy, he looked at a piece of hentai, put him in the penitent engine. Let's take an arco-flagellant over there. You know, let's take off his limbs, give him some flails. He watched some smacked.
They love torture.
I forgot about the lobotomized babies.
They sound like my kind of ladies.
Oh god.
I mean, Space Marines use them too, but sisters have a lot of them.
I'm sorry, lobotomized babies? I missed this memo. What about lobotomized babies? It's none of your business. Leave our babies alone. What? They turn babies into servitors. Oh. So this is a normal thing that they do. Lab grown babies. They lab grow some babies and they lobotomize them to do stuff for them. Yeah, you know, cherubs. You know, if we think of it as cherubs, it feels less bad. They're lab grown. I mean, even if they're lab grown, they're still babies. You make servitors by lobotomizing a person. Yeah. They just look like them. Vat grown, baby sized, vaguely human things. They used to not be vat grown. Oh god. They've you know, if I just chat, you're so right. If I just think of them as cherubs, it's okay. And then I don't mind. And it's totally fine. They're just cherubs. They might be a little bit creepy looking, but they're just little guys.
Whereas
Yeah,
Space
they're
Marines
all over
use
the
them.
place, right?
Yeah, Space Marines use them to carry like ammo. The sisters use them to carry fucking incense and shit.
Oh.
Oh man, that's that. Oh boy,
Huh.
it's kind of ballsy to make the all female sort of like religious zealots the most evil part of the Imperial. That sounds like it's straight out of like a JRPG. The evil is God and all of his followers, and we must kill them. That sounds it's oof. That's
I mean, if we're being smart, GW, if we're giving GW any credit, to say that they've enjoyed their satirization of religious zealotry and nationalism is a thing. But at the same time, this is also a toy soldier game, so I don't want to look too deep into it.
that's fair.
But I want to talk about the matriarchs, man.
They can't wait. The sisters are allowed to have relationships with other people and have children. They're just busy and devoted, so they struggle to do so. Some have no restriction on marriage. They can't get married, but they can get to know the guardsmen, so the children have to go somewhere. Oh. Huh. So maybe depending on the order you're in. They're heretical babies. Yeah. There we go. Okay, we got there.
all
I
right.
want to
We
talk
got
about
the
the
Lulu
matriarchs.
enough.
So this is
Tell me
a
about the
really
matriarchs.
this is a fucking cool part, and they're starting to flesh it out a little bit more, and I think it's awesome. So remember, Alicia Dominica went into the Emperor's throne room. It wasn't just her. The reason that she is so important is because she was the main leader of the sisters during the Doge Van Dyer reign of blood, and she was
Right.
the one who beheaded him. It's actually the 6 matriarchs: Saint Catherine, Saint Dominica, Saint Lucia, Saint Mina, Silvana, and Arabella. And these are the six sisters that were all the major matriarchs that all eventually went to go form all of the Order Primaris. So there's Order like Primaris and then Order Secundus, I think, or Tertiary. I forget exactly how it's pronounced, but basically, you know how guardsmen and Marines have chapters, guardsmen have regiments. So sisters have orders, and there's 6 main orders. So Saint Catherine is the Order of Our Martyred Lady. Lucia is of the Valorous Heart. Dominica is one of them. She was the Ebon Chalice. You have the Bloody Rose, the Argent Shroud, and the Sacred Rose. Now, Saint Catherine was all these. By the way, all these girls, they're all dead.
Oh,
They're-
yeah. Well, because they're
Well,
humans.
obviously.
They couldn't be alive. that
Right,
long,
true.
Right? They're just humans.
and they also got killed in battle. They've all been martyred.
Oh, okay.
Oh, I see.
Because
Okay.
if there's one thing
right.
that sisters really fucking like, it's killing themselves. They love martyrdom.
Well, that's fair. If you're gonna be a religious zealot, chances are you want to be martyred for the cause, and that's fair.
Okay.
That's besides flames and meltas. That's one of their big favorites. But Saint Catherine,
weird.
for instance, Saint Catherine was really the military doctrine. She was the smart military leader, and she
Saint
was
Catherine.
the saint of the Order of Our Martyred Lady. This is the one you probably noticed the most. It's the black and red color scheme that you see everywhere.
Oh.
Yep.
She was the main like military tactician under Alicia. Saint Lucia was actually actually they all have these surnames. So the big group, Saint Catherine is the martyr, the shield bearer. Lucia is the endurant of the passion. Dominica was the spirit of holy wrath. Mina was known as Saint Mina the bloody. And then Saint Silvana the intercession, and Saint Arabella the liberator from doubt.
Wow.
Because having badass fucking names is a good GW staple.
Oh yeah, those are some dope names.
Yeah,
the
I
bloody,
agree.
Gee, I wonder what she liked to do. Jesus.
Oh, she's cool. So Saint Catherine, you might remember as the saint of Order of Our Mar Lady. The Order of Our Mar Lady is, they love martyrdom. Oh, do they like it? They almost feel like Krieg. They're like the sisters version of Krieg, where they're really down to die for the cause.
I was gonna say, if you're really into martyrdom, man, it must be really hard to keep your ranks full. Cause I mean, you're gonna it sounds like they're gonna martyr themselves before the enemy has a chance to shoot them.
Okay. I didn't want to do this. I was gonna wait until after stream, but I'm like way too hungry. I had some sweet potato puffs earlier, hoping that would tide me over, but ain't no way. Can I heat up my dinner really quick, chat? Will you guys be chill with me taking like a 5-minute break to go heat up some dinner and bring it up, and we can eat and watch the rest of this video? I'm really sorry. I was trying to hold off, but stream started like a little later than I wanted to. So let me just, I'm heating up dinner, BRB. Let me just put this little, I'll be right back. I'll just be a better entertainer when I have food, you know? Munching ASMR, yes, go eat, girl. Thank you guys for being so understanding. Give me like 5 minutes. I'll be right back. Is there, can I have do I have music? Can I get you guys some I don't want it to just be silent. Hold on. I've got a media source. Okay, here we go. I'll be right back with food so we can finish, okay? Okay, don't go anywhere, please. I promise. I'll be right back, okay? Okay.
What is going on? Well, can't you see? You're under the control of Riri. The friendly neighborhood ghost is here to check in on all the lovely souls under her possession, hoping to give herself a taste of what it's like to be not as clumsy. The ghosty girl who goes to game. What she doing, what she playing. Everybody played cool, it's the coolest of the ghouls. Strong will end, a lot of ambition. Can't see through them like apparitions. Determined to bring only the best. Get in the way, be her guest. Riri, the ghosty girl, steals your body, steals the show. Klutzy and a little forgetful, but meeting her is unforgettable. She's a scream queen that can scare the soul, but guides all wandering souls back home. Give your mind, body, all the more to Riri, the ghosty girl. I said it's Riri, the ghosty girl. I said it's Riri, the ghosty girl. Just a normal day or so we thought. Suddenly lost control, now you're caught. What is going on? Well, can't you see? You're under the control of Riri. The friendly neighborhood ghost is here to check in on all the lovely souls under her possession, hoping to give herself a taste of what it's like to be not as clumsy. The ghosty girl who goes to game. What she doing, what she playing. Everybody played cool, it's the coolest of the ghouls. Strong will end, a lot of ambition. Can't see through them like apparitions. Determined to bring only the best. Get in the way, be her guest. Riri, the ghosty girl, steals your body, steals the show. Klutzy and a little forgetful, but meeting her is unforgettable. She's a scream queen that can scare the soul, but guides all wandering souls back home. Give your mind, body, all the more to Riri, the ghosty girl. I said it's Riri, the ghosty girl. I said it's Riri, the ghosty girl. normal day or so we thought. Suddenly lost control, now you're caught. What is going on? Well, can't you see? You're under the control of Riri. The friendly neighborhood ghost is here to check in on all the lovely souls under her possession, hoping to give herself a taste of what it's like to be not as clumsy. The ghosty girl who goes to game. What she doing, what she playing. Everybody playing cool, it's the coolest of the ghouls. Strong will end, a lot of ambition. Can't see through them like apparitions. Determined to bring only the best. Get in the way, be her guest. Riri, the ghosty girl, steals your body, steals the show. Klutzy and a little forgetful, but meeting her is unforgettable. She's a scream queen that can scare the soul, but guides all wandering souls back home. Give your mind, body, all the more to Riri, the ghosty girl. I said it's Riri, the ghosty girl. I said it's Riri, the ghosty girl. Just a normal day or so we thought. Suddenly lost control, now you're caught. What is going on? Well, can't you see? You're under the control of Riri. The friendly neighborhood ghost is here to check in on all the lovely souls under her possession, hoping to give herself a taste of what it's like to be not as clumsy. The ghosty girl who goes to game. What she doing, what she playing. Everybody playing cool, it's the coolest of the ghouls. Strong will end, a lot of ambition. Can't see through them like apparitions. Determined to bring only the best. Get in the way, be her guest. Riri, the ghosty girl, steals your body, steals the show. Klutzy and a little forgetful, but meeting her is unforgettable. She's a scream queen that can scare the soul, but guides all wandering souls back home. Give your mind, body, all the more to Riri, the ghosty girl. I said it's Riri, the ghosty girl. I said it's Riri, the ghosty girl. Just a normal day or so we thought. Suddenly lost control, now you're caught. What is going on? Well, can't you see? You're under the control of Riri. The friendly neighborhood ghost is here to check in on all the lovely souls under her possession, hoping to give herself a taste of what it's like to be not as clumsy. The ghosty girl who goes to game. What she doing, what she playing. Everybody playing cool, it's the coolest of the ghouls. Strong will end, a lot of ambition. Can't see through them like apparitions. Determined to bring only the best. Get in the way, be her guest. Riri, the ghosty girl, steals your body, steals the show. Klutzy and a little forgetful, but meeting her is unforgettable. She's a scream queen that can scare the soul, but guides all wandering souls back home. Give your mind, body, all the more to Riri, the ghosty girl. I said it's Riri, the ghosty girl. I said it's Riri, the ghosty girl. Just a normal day or so we thought. Suddenly lost control, now you're caught. What is going on? Well, can't you see? You're under the control of Riri. The friendly neighborhood ghost is here to check in on all the lovely souls under her possession, hoping to give herself a taste of what it's like to be not as clumsy. The Ghosty girl who goes to game. What she doing, what she playing. Everybody play cool, it's the coolest of the ghouls. Strong will end, a lot of ambition. Can't see through them like apparitions. Determined to bring only the best. Get in the way, be her guest. Riri the ghosty girl steals your body, steals the show. Klutzy and a little forgetful, but meeting her is unforgettable. She's a scream queen that can scare the soul, but guides all wandering souls back home. Give your mind, body, all and more to Riri the ghosty girl. I said it's Riri the ghosty girl. I said it's Riri the ghosty girl. Just a normal day or so we thought. Suddenly lost control, now you're caught. What is going on? Well, can't you see? You're under the control of Riri. The friendly neighborhood ghost is here to check in on all the lovely souls under her possession, hoping to give herself a taste of what it's like to be not as clumsy. The ghosty girl who goes to game. What she doing, what she playing. Everybody play cool, it's the coolest of the ghouls. Strong will end, a lot of ambition. Can't see through them like apparitions. Determined to bring only the best. Get in the way, be her guest. Riri the ghosty girl steals your body, steals the show. Klutzy and a little forgetful, but meeting her is unforgettable. She's a scream queen that can scare the soul, but guides all wandering souls back home. Give your mind, body, all and more to Riri the ghosty girl. I said it's Riri the ghosty girl. I said it's Riri the ghosty girl. Just a normal day or so we thought. Suddenly lost control, now you're caught. What is going on? Well, can't you see? You're under the control of Riri.
I'm back.
The friendly neighborhood.
Thank you guys for being so patient and waiting for me. Okay. I got whoops. I got like a homemade Italian sub basically. Frick. But I'm eating it with a fork and knife so I don't get anything messy. Please head toward your nearest Arbite station for processing. I very much appreciate you guys supporting a streamer doing human things like eating before it's too late. It's like 9 p.m. Okay. Let's continue watching while I eat. You got rice and chicken? I mean, rice and chicken is so good though. You know?
So
Like, the dying sisters on the battlefield are being like praised. Their other sisters are like, oh, Saint Mary, you're dying horribly. The Emperor truly loves you, for you have been vindicated as a saint. Goodbye. Like, they really like it. In game, if you actually gain bonuses for having your people die.
Oh, really?
It's the
Wow.
It's the best.
All right. Cool.
So like if you had like a big 20-woman squad of sisters, if any squad suffered casualties but isn't fully dead, the entire rest of the squad hits better.
Wow.
They hit on like 2s instead
That's
of 3s.
crazy.
It's kind of neat.
Immediately, I'm like, you know, if I ever play the tabletop, that's the squad I should get, because chances are I'm gonna roll like garbage because I have no luck in dice rolls. So
Me too.
if everything happens to go wrong and I get a shitload of bonuses, hey, hey, Win-win.
As we might remember, Saint Catherine is obviously dead, and they are carrying her bones into battle nowadays with the coolest model ever, the Triumph of Saint Catherine.
Whoa, that is so cool. What the fuck?
Yeah.
Holy
it's literally
shit.
carrying her bones into battle with a whole bunch of different matriarchs, which I'll talk about in a bit. But Saint Lucia was the Order of the Valorous Heart. Now, and she's also the Endurant of the Passion, as I stated. Saint Lucia did not live a good life. She eventually was captured by traitors and had her eyes gouged out.
Oh, God.
And she was held hostage and was forced to listen to the screams of the dying innocents that the traitors had. So they basically brought a whole bunch of innocent people and like murdered them in front of her in an attempt to make her renounce her faith.
Oh my God.
Well, on the plus side, at least she didn't have to see it, right?
I suppose.
Right?
But
you only had to hear it.
though, including other sisters of Battl were brought to be tortured in front of her. However,
Thank you for the subscription to Riki. For 2 months, okay, Riri, welcome back home. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
they
Go, Dross Ghost, RT. This is only the second ad rec that we've watched, I think.
were tortured without a sound. They did not make a single sound.
Holy
Now the
shit.
heretics stated
They're so
that
badass.
Lucia did abandon her faith. But once those heretics were then captured and put to the brand, they eventually, stated they lied and she never actually renounced her faith after all this time of torture.
Wow.
They're just trying to slander her and make her seem like a traitor, and then the Imperium would do the dirty work and kill her.
Yeah, so she was killed at the hands of these traitors after some time.
Oh my God.
But this created the concept of the Order of the Valorous Heart, which has the idea of impervious to pain. The Valorous Heart are brutal. They have a very slow way of warfare. They do it the tactical way. They cut off a supply line. They mess up different kinds of like shipping food. They poison your water supply.
Right.
They destroy your like chemical vats. And so often the worlds that they fight, they usually siege and actually end up kind of fucking up the world. Like the poisons and the chemicals kind of go into the air. And because of that, they tend to trudge on these worlds, and they actually relish in the idea of scarring and pain. No other order bears as many hideous facial scars as the Order of the Valorous Heart does. Their faces are incredibly fucked up. They are like scratched and scarred. They're missing chunks of tissue, or like it's all blistered up and it's really nasty because they like walk in like a poisonous world that they just destroyed.
Yeah, Shy posted a picture of one of them, and holy shit, she looks all fucked up. She kind of looks like a zombie. Like,
a little bit.
Flesh is just hanging off her face, and she's got this dead eye. She's on fire. Holy shit! Their logo is sick.
Their logo
is so cool. I love them. But I did notice, like, in the other video when we were looking at Sisters of Battl, I was like, some of them are all, like, maimed up. Now it makes sense. They were probably this Order of the Heart or whatever, huh? Have I slept to them? No, I haven't, because I'm trying to, like, keep my learning to stream. I don't want to, like, go too deep too fast. You know what I mean?
Sick. Almost all the logos are really cool looking.
That's true. And I'm assuming this is all because, like,